The 2023 high school football season continues tonight for teams around the state of Ohio. We have 11 games scheduled, and our focus will be on Lorain County. Can you believe we are at the halfway mark of the season already, and playoff spots are up for grabs? Here are the top stories heading into Week 5. We have a huge matchup with the Southwestern Conference title implications as two undefeated teams battle it out for conference supremacy. And don't look now, but the Black River Pirates have won 3 games in a row after dropping the season opener. And the Pirates continue to sail high on the road at Firelands. Plus, we are tracking history as Marco Sirigliano is looking to shatter 2 all-time leading records in Lorain County for the most rushing yards and touchdowns scored in a career. Marco trails Brandon Coleman by 288 yards for the all-time leading rushing yards record. And Marco trails Al McKinney by 6 touchdowns to break the all-time leading record. And as always, we'll break down all 5 conferences heading into the Southwestern Conference, the Lorain County 8 League, the Great Lakes Conference, the Lake Erie League, and finally, the Sandusky Bay Conference. 3 teams remain undefeated as Avon, Columbia, and North Ridgeville look to remain perfect, and 3 teams face must-win situations with Elyria, Oberlin, and Wellington on the bottom looking up. The first edition of the state polls were released earlier in the week, and a few Lorain County teams were mentioned, as Avon checks in at number 4 and North Ridgeville slides up to number 9 in the Division II rankings. This game was chosen as the Fox 8 Friday Night Touchdown Game of the Week, and you can hear it live here on WDLWradio.com. Tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Buckeye Community Bank, Slimans and Amherst, the Nord Center, Nick Abraham, Elyria Ford, Zabo Apparel Company, Valley Chevrolet of Wellington, Alan Januzzi CPA, Lorain County Community College, Brian Victor of Howard Hanna, Lorain County Clerk of Courts Tom Orlando, Justin Miller Esquire, Lorain County Prosecutor J.D. Tomlinson, Ernie's Auto Body, Lorain County Recorder Mike Durant, Giovanna Bremke, Achieve Credit Union, Kevin Brubaker, Erie's Market, Mental Health and Recovery Services of Lorain County, Lorain County Commissioner David Moore, Honeydew Handyman Services, Lorain County Visitors Bureau, Barber and Black in Sheffield Lake, Jones Bones Barbecue and Grub, I-90 Nissan in Sheffield Village, Ross Environmental Services, Music's Auto Care, Lang Optical, and Janasco Insurance. Thanks for joining me. I'm Dave Rivera, and welcome to the local portion of the pregame show brought to you by Slimans and Amherst, where customers send their friends. Here's the schedule for Week 5 in Lorain County. In the Southwestern Conference, Berea Midpark is at Amherst, Elyria is at Olmsted Falls, Avon Lake is at Midview in a game that you can watch live on YouTube at the Lorain County Sports Network. And our WDLW Game of the Week features Avon at North Ridgeville. In the Lorain County 8 League, Black River is at Firelands, Brookside is at Wellington, Oberlin is at Clearview, and our WOBL Game of the Week is Columbia at Keystone. In the Great Lakes Conference, Elyria Catholic is at Lakewood in an East vs. West crossover game. In the Lake Erie League, Willoughby South travels to Lorain in a non-conference game. Sandusky travels to Vermilion in a Bay vs. Lake Sandusky Bay Conference crossover game. On WOBL, it's a Lorain County 8 showdown between the Columbia Raiders and the Keystone Wildcats. Live from LaGrange, Max Drummond and Brian DeVito will have the call. Then, on WDLW Radio, it's a Southwestern Conference battle between the Avon Eagles and the North Ridgeville Rangers. Live from Ranger Stadium, Don Vincent and Rick Soto will bring you the action. Excited to announce that new this year, you can watch a different team each week live on our free video stream on YouTube at Lorain County Sports Network. Tonight, it's the Avon Lake Shoremen traveling to Grafton to take on the Midview Middies. Join John Guzik and Mike Harush live on YouTube. Don't forget to tune in after the final whistle of your game for the Postgame Scoreboard Show presented by Achieve Credit Union, streaming live on Facebook at WOBL WDLW Sports. Kickoff is just around the corner after this timeout. Enjoy the game. I'll see you at halftime on the Lorain County Sports Network, WOBL and WDLW.
We were fortunate enough to the football club got together with Cough Builders, and they wanted to, with our youth night and kind of do something special for our kids and our teacher appreciation night. So kind of had three nights rolled into one, and they wanted to put on a beautiful display. And like I mentioned before, it's a good thing we won.
Well, what did you do with the team? Did they stay on the field and get a chance to enjoy that? They're beat up from several hours of running around. Did they want to head to the locker room?
No, we kept everybody in the stands. Normally we allow the student section to come onto the field and celebrate with the team after the game, but we kept everybody in the stands. The team stayed on the field, sat down in the corner of the end zone, and just kind of watched. And like I said, it was like one continuous kind of big finale. When you see the big finale on July 4th, it was just one continuous finale for like 8 straight minutes. It turned out really, really well. And like I said, thankfully we won the game, and it was a nice display.
Well, you not only won the game, but you held a Berea Mid-Park team to 7 points. So your defense seems like it's really coming into form now.
It is. We're really starting to get healthy again for the most part. And, our linebackers are starting to play well, and including our secondary. Stewie's got, 4 picks in 4 games. So, for us, it's just continuing to build each week and continue to get better and better and eliminate or limit our mistakes as much as possible and continue to get turnovers.
So on that defensive side of the ball, and especially turnovers, because you're going against a team this week, over 400 yards offense last week. They can move the ball, but is it someone particular that's getting healthier on defense, or someone, you mentioned Stewie with his picks, but up in the middle of the defense, who's the core of what's happening to keep teams like that down?
So really it's come down to our D-line. We had to replace 3 D linemen last year, and we have, but unfortunately, like a guy like Mike Thompson, who played a great game last week, he's been hurt. He was out for the first 2 weeks. We played him sparingly to get him back into the flow of things against Chardon, and he was able to kind of unleash a little bit. Tyler Fuente is another one who played week 1. He was out against Benedictine and then out against Chardon, so we just got him back. And his speed is a game changer. So like Surgeon and Gallagher have been kind of holding down the fort with a bunch of different guys like Kemmer and Broadhurst and Van Ewen stepping up. But getting those guys healthy, they're one-way players, and getting their production into a place that was similar to what they were doing against Medina Highland in our opening scrimmage. And we came out firing against Medina Highland, and I felt we played like a physical game. We played physical against Chardon, which was a great test for the SWC, but we put a complete game together that we can build upon going to the rest of our schedule, which we know is a buzzsaw.
So let's talk about the offense a little bit. You get into the middle of the season. How are they evolving? What's becoming your identity? You look at your stats. You have one back who leads in yardage, but another back who leads in scoring. You have an underclassman who's in his first year as a starter at quarterback. So how is the team evolving on that side of the ball, and what can we expect to see tonight?
Well, we always want to run the ball effectively and take our easy wins. And I think right now our inconsistency in the red zone has what's been improving. Those first 3 weeks, okay, as I always tell the kids, if we're not improving in certain areas, the check's going to come due at some point. And it came due against Chardon. We had 2 great opportunities to put up points in the first half, and we ended up stubbing our toes because of penalties and then missed opportunities that put scores. Going against a team that can only runs the ball as effectively as they do, putting up 2 quick touchdowns to start the game changes the game, and we weren't able to do that. And so we had to build upon it. So like I told the kids, I'm like, all right, that was our check come due. We cannot leave points on the board anymore. And with the exception of one drive against Berea Mid Park, we delivered. Every opportunity we had in the red zone or passing the 40, we were able to capitalize and get scores out of it. So we got to continue to build upon that. We got to control the ball, running the ball. In this past game against Berea Mid Park, it was the first game that I felt we were in the driver's seat running the football, and that's where we want to be.
We're talking with Avon Lake Shoremen head coach Kostelnik, and we've got a few more minutes on the Buckeye Community Bank Coach's Corner. It's Midview taking on Avon Lake, and I mentioned over 400 yards of offense. So what is the key, going back to your defense, of how you keep them under control?
Well, we got to force them to be one-dimensional. They are 50-50 pass to run, and they have their moments where they're highly effective. We saw the same script 2 years ago when we lost to them. Like, they're inconsistent, but at times they're highly effective, and they were highly effective against us for 4 quarters. So we have to go out and dictate what they're doing, force them to be one-dimensional, and when they take their shots, because they're going to take their shots, we have to be on the right side of that football, putting the ball on the ground, picking the ball, and forcing the turnovers, which they have shown to do quite often.
And your defense is also shown on your side of the ball that you guys get after and get turnovers. So it's going to be a battle there that could have your players kind of chomping at the bit tonight.
Correct. Yeah, we've been fortunate enough we're on the plus side of the category as far as turnovers this year. We haven't made too many mistakes on offense, other than leaving some guys wide open. So we gotta again settle down, force them to be one-dimensional, and capitalize on the turnovers that we need to force.
And we'll be seeing what's happening with all that as it comes to fruition live here on the Lorain County Sports Network. And we'll continue on with more of the Slimans and Amherst pregame show right after this.
Thanks for having me for the first part. And yeah, I've been here for a while, and an alumni here, so it's a special place to be, and I'm excited to be here. And things are continuing to go in the right direction, and we look forward to Avon Lake.
Yeah, talking about the right direction, you guys definitely had a lot of things going right for you, especially this past week, where the offense really just rolled up a ton of yards, but it didn't convert to a lot of points. So what will you be working on in practice this week to make sure that you can kind of put those two together?
I'm really just executing and eliminating the turnovers. So during practice, we've been harping on protecting the football and making the right decisions with the football. And Ethan Albert, our starting quarterback's had a good practice week so far, and we look to continue that.
Tell our listeners a little bit about Midview offense, what's your base that you work off of, and who are some of the players that have been keys to this season so far?
So we're a spread offense. We just because we're spread offense doesn't mean that we don't emphasize physicality and be able to run the ball. And I would say we're a 50-50, and not even go even further. We're going to take what's open. So some games, the run game's going to be open. Some games, the pass game's going to be open, and we're going to call plays to get our playmakers the ball. A couple playmakers at running back. We have a duo of Michael Pazzarello, which is a sophomore. He's very electric with the ball, very quick. And then we have Hunter Anderson, which is a senior, and he's good, very good at running in between the tackles. On the quarterback, we have Ethan Elbert. He's a senior. And the nice thing about Ethan is he's able to throw the ball wherever we want him to throw it on the field. And then at wide receiver, we have Dior Jones, which is a junior, which is electric with the ball, and Dane West, which is also, he's a wide receiver and a senior. And they complement each other very well because they both play outside receiver.
And you've been with the Midview program long enough, that a couple of years ago we were here with WDLW broadcasting the game, and you guys just really clicked and put everything together and had a huge, at that time, an upset win over the Shoremen. And so do you use any of that history to kind of motivate and keep the kids focused this week?
We just emphasize that Midview is a very special program, just like Avon Lake, just like Avon, and the kids just need to believe, and when they believe, we can do whatever we put our minds to. So it's more of a, hey, we're just as talented as these teams, so let's go show them kind of thing.
And like I said, we mentioned a couple times, you've been around the program a bunch of years, but your first year as head coach, now that you get to the midpoint of the season, you've really learned more about this particular team and the nuances of being head coach. So what are the things that kind of we look to more improvements as this middle part of the season comes to fruition here? What's going to be good about Midview tonight?
The biggest thing is, like I said earlier, is just protecting the football. We, as you stated earlier, we had a lot of yards last Friday, and to capitalize on those yards, we need to get it in the end zone instead of giving it to the other team. So we've worked really hard as a staff. The players have worked hard, and we're going to continue to improve and try not to turn the ball over. And then defensively, we just got to continue to fly to the ball and be the more physical team on the field. So the defense has done a great job, and I look forward to seeing them continue to improve.
It's interesting. Both coaches are talking about wanting to improve, kind of in that red zone, finishing drive. So on the defensive side for Midview, who's the linchpins on that side of the ball that they're going to work to keep the Shoremen out of the end zone?
I think a big thing with this week is really making sure we're aligning properly and making the right calls. So our linebackers have a tough task, being Connor Rose, Wyatt Lehman, and make sure they're calling the strengths, and our defensive line getting off their blocks and getting into the backfield. And our defensive line does a great job doing that. Right now it's Daniel Schenberger, Gabe Borer, and Makai Massey. So I think it's real big up front that they hold their ground and get in the backfield and own the line of scrimmage.
All right, Coach, I appreciate your time today. We're looking forward to a great matchup. And like I said, if anything like the last time we were here with the Shoremen and Middies matchup, it's going to be a thriller. So we invite people to stay tuned as we get ready for the Middies to host the Avon Lake Shoremen, and it's coming up live here on the Lorain County Sports Network.
Live from Grafton, Ohio. Glad to have you along here on the Lorain County Sports Network. I'm John Guzik, welcoming you here for Week 5 of the high school season, and we're going to get right to the action with our national anthem. combined effort of both the Midview and Avon Lake bands out there. A wonderful Southwestern Conference tradition and a great way to get the live portion of our broadcast going. Thank you for joining us here on this Friday night. You're listening to the Slimans and Amherst pregame show. Slimans and Amherst, where customers send their families, and I'm along with our on-site producer, director, engineer extraordinaire Edwin Vereen, and Andrew Bauman is our videographer tonight. Mike Rush will be listening to him a lot, and we'll be hearing from him in just a couple of minutes. But as we set the tone for what's happening tonight, we've got Avon Lake and Midview both coming off of really competitive conference opening games last week. And here we are already at the midpoint of the 2023 season. It's week 5. It's our last game of the summer. By the time we join you next Friday, it'll officially be fall. And one of the things that makes Friday Night Lights so fantastic is all the additional things that go on. Like I talked about, the band out there combined playing the national anthem. Obviously, you have drill teams, cheerleaders, fans are out here, entire community. But one thing I noticed, Mike Rush, right away that's important is we always have a rescue squad on site here as we do tonight. We also have a fire truck back there. I hope that isn't a signal of what's happening at the concession stand, but and just part of what they do here tonight. But also all the families that make things possible. We're here at Ross Field. We're up in the Carmel and Maxwell families press box, and of course our thanks to all of our sponsors out there as we're broadcasting live again from the Lang Optical broadcast booth. And we also want to mention that our national anthem each and every week brought to you by our good friend Lorain County Prosecutor J.D. Tomlinson, who reminds you to stay safe, Lorain County. And as I mentioned, Mike Rush along with us. Happy to have you back. I know you missed a little bit of time with us last week. Hopefully you're feeling better and everything's going well. But most importantly, what do you feel are the keys to this game tonight as Avon Lake takes on Midview?
Yeah, it's great to be back with you, John. Feeling much better this week. And as you said, week 5, SWC matchup here between Avon Lake and Midview. And for Avon Lake, it's really all about the red zone execution. You heard Coach Kostelnik talk about it in the coach's corner. They've moved the ball well all season. In that red zone inside the 20, they got to be able to execute and come away with touchdowns and not having to settle for field goals or come away with no points at all. They're going to have to limit the big plays from Midview tonight. Midview's got some big-time, home run hitters, guys that can really create some big plays. They got to limit Midview's big plays, and they got to try to win up front. I think that might be, an advantage that they have here tonight, or their offensive and defensive lines. For Midview, it's really all about the turnovers. They're 2-2 on the season. Their 2 losses to Westlake and to Amherst. They've had a turnover problem. Last week, they really felt like they let that game get away. They had 4 turnovers and a loss to Amherst. And as we mentioned, create explosive plays for Midview. They've got plays this year of 67, 64, 60, 47, and 42 yards. Some of their explosive plays from scrimmage. So just a couple keys here tonight that we're going to be looking for.
And, you talk about the 2 losses that Midview has had, but Westlake is 4-0. Amherst is 3-1. They're really in the first year of a new head coach. You really weren't sure what was going to happen this year. You have a quarterback for Midview who wasn't playing football, right, as I understand correctly last year, because you've got a little bit of relationship with Mr. Armstrong, the head coach of the Middies.
Yeah, Coach Armstrong and I worked together in Rocky River for a year, a couple of seasons ago. He had come over from Midview, and then he came back to Midview. His alma mater, a 2012 graduate, so I know it's a dream come true for him to be the head coach at Midview. And it didn't take very long getting to know Coach Armstrong to know that he was going to be a future head coach. And I know the Midview football program is in great hands with him.
We'll expect you to be able to kind of predict when we get to that point. So what's he going to do now? I'm coming to you to sit there and say, this is what. No, just kidding.
Absolutely. That's what I'm here for.
We won't put that kind of pressure. But the keys of the game are brought to you by Mahars, the mental health and recovery services of Lorain County. Be there for mental illness and addiction recovery. Captains were out on the field a little bit ago, and captains for Avon Lake was McCrum, Bova, Broadhurst, and Sindelar. And they were out there, of course, for the coin toss to get things started. Avon Lake's captains did win the coin toss, but they deferred, and they're going to end up kicking off to start this game. They'll be kicking from north to south, and the Midview offense will take the field, be getting things started here tonight. Midview's captains out there were Dane West. Of course, we got a couple of the West brothers out there, as well as Borer and Anderson. So sometimes, you see some of these names with the captains overlap with the guys who you're going to hear their names called all night. We always like to mention the captains because sometimes it's those guys just in the locker room who are really strong, or a lot of those guys up front. And captains out there are brought to you by Lorain County Commissioner David Moore. So appreciate, again, all of our sponsors who make things happen out there. And we've got a great night for football. I mean, I was joking with the officials as they came out on the field tonight. I say, when you're a football official, you've got to be prepared for those 88-degree days in August and those 34 degrees and slushy snow in October and November. And they haven't had to bring any of that out because we've had a beautiful night, time in and time out. Right now we're going to look at 66 degrees as our game time temperatures. Our conditions are great. I mentioned we're at Ross Field, and it's been a few years now since AstroTurf was put in here, so we'll be playing on artificial surface tonight, so that will keep everyone out of the mud and hopefully no slipping around. And I know a lot of everyone's talking about how chilly it's out, but we only expect the temperatures to fall into the low 60s during the game. It won't fall into those much lower temperatures till much later tonight and into tomorrow morning. We got clear skies right now. It's barely any wind, but it's out of kind of like the northeast. We're now seeing the flag in the northern part of the end zone start to flutter a little bit more, but we're looking at a wind about 5 miles or less. But where we are in the broadcast booth up here with the open windows is somehow a little wind tunnel.
Wind tunnel, yes.
Keeping all of our papers straight here and everything like that to get it all together. But our game time forecast and conditions brought to you by Lorain County Clerk of Courts Tom Orlando, who continues to be a proud sponsor of Lorain County High School Sports. And don't forget, tonight we're here at Midview on the Lorain County Sports Network, but our sister stations, WDLW, is out in North Ridgeville, where they have a tremendous matchup between undefeated North Ridgeville and Avon. That's going to be a great game. We'll get you updates on that throughout the night. And over on WOBL, Columbia is taking on Keystone. And, you talk about the Keystone, and we've mentioned before about the Shackelford family, and unfortunately a terrible injury this year. But tonight, Avon Lake has the Stewie, another version of the Stewies, and boy, what a tremendous athletic family that has been, and we're going to call Luke Stewie's name a lot tonight. Of course, I already mentioned that Midview has both of the West brothers who will be there. So we're going to talk about who our starting lineups are going to be and get kickoff going for you after we take a quick break here. Glad to have you along Friday nights with football coming up on the Lorain County Sports Network. Back here in Grafton, if you didn't see them, you hear them. The Midview Middies taking the field here tonight, and Avon Lake coming out in just a minute. Let's get the starting lineups going. I mentioned that Midview is going to start the game with the ball as Avon Lake won the toss and deferred. They're going to come out along the front line with some pretty big guys out there. Tony Jackson on the left side, who starts at 6'2", 240. Danny Dular at 5'11" and 220. In the middle is going to be Leo Sorinsky. He'll be centering things up. He's 5'10" and 235. The smallest guy up front is Max Scott at the right guard spot. He's 5'10", 195. And Mackay Massey will be on the right side tackle he's 6', 275. Quarterback will be Ethan Elbert. He is only a junior. He's got a 6'4" height to him, so we're going to talk about that. I'm sure that making a difference. Behind him, Hunter Anderson and Michael Passarello will be the running backs. Out on the wings will be Cam and Dane West. And then Dior Jones is going to be a guy who's going to just be all over the field on both sides of the ball for the Midview Middies tonight. Avon Lake's defense, which has been not only getting healthier, as Coach Kostelnik said, but had a stellar performance last week against the Berea Titans. They're going to have Lewis Gallagher up front. He's in the middle at 6'1", 270. He's a senior out there. And then on the ends, Carter Sargent on one end. He's got a couple of sacks already this year. He's 6'3", 220. Tyler Fuente on the other side, 6'1" and 210, and then Michael Thompson will be in the middle of the line as well, 6'4", 235. So good battles up front size-wise between Avon Lake and Midview. It's those Avon Lake linebackers that have been racing to the ball and getting all the tackles this year. You're going to see Felipe Covarrubias, and I got to make sure I don't butcher that one too badly. I need some practice, and I think Felipe is going to give us a lot of practice. That he's already got 41 tackles this year. On either side of him will be Michael Pace. He's a 6'2" senior. And Derek McCrum, a 6'2" senior as well, who's on his way to Penn next year to play football. Backfield for the Avon Lake defense. In the middle is going to be Luke Stewie. You're going to see that number 1 all over the field on both sides of the ball. Sam Ferrone is a 5'11" junior. And then the cornerbacks will be Will Sindelar on one side and Joseph Herron on the other. Those are your starting lineups for tonight as we get ready for Week 5 to kick off. And final thoughts here, Mike, before we get things going. I do want to mention that we thank our friend Kevin Brubaker, Kevin Brubaker running for mayor, and sponsoring our starting lineups here tonight. Make sure we get credit out there. But any final thoughts as we get ready for this? It's 7 o'clock on my watch. I don't know why we don't have balls teed up yet.
Yeah, I think we're in for an interesting game. I think a couple years ago, Avon Lake came over here as a favored team, and I think you did that game, John, and Midview sprang the upset. So, kind of a similar situation here tonight. Avon Lake considered the favorite, and we'll see what Midview can do on their home field.
Well, one of the things that makes a difference, when we were here 2 years ago on WDLW, Avon Lake came in as a big favorite. They won handily last year with a running clock. But 2 years ago, just nobody was giving Midview a chance, and they came out great. This year with Coach Armstrong out there, you see the start they've had, and they're also adding, we found out tonight, you're going to see number 6 out there, Austin Dye, who's had an elbow problem earlier this year, and he will be playing tonight. It's his first game of the year. He's a 6'1", 275-pound guy, mostly on the defense, but you might see him give guys a break on the offensive line from time to time for the Middies. So the ball's teed up. We've got Avon Lake ready to start things off with Ian Walsh getting things underway. We've got triple receivers back for Midview, and the kick's away, and it's a good one going all the way into the end zone. So they're going to hold things back there. I believe that is Dior Jones grabbing that one, but it'll come out, and Midview starting 1st and 20 as we get going here on this Friday night. Appreciate our friends at Lorain County Community College. Kick off your future with LCCC. They bring you every opening kickoff of Friday night football this year across our broadcasting spectrum.
Yeah, interested to watch this Midview offense. Kind of a power spread. Coach Armstrong has kind of taken bits and pieces of different places he's been. And, of course, this offense is going to be coordinated by Scott Crum, the longtime Midview coach, and, of course, the father of Dustin Crum, the former Midview quarterback, and Kent Stater.
And they are going to look to go long. They're going to try to mix it up. We told both coaches talk about being a 50-50 team, but Coach Armstrong mentioned that they'll take what the defense gives them. So motion here to start. Albert takes the shotgun snap, fakes the handoff, and takes it himself right up the middle. Gets a few yards before I mentioned that number 1, you're going to see him a lot out on the field here. Luke Stewie comes in and pulls him down after a gain of about 4. So it brings up 2nd and 6 for the Middies out the bat.
Yeah, Midview showing the jet motion and the quarterback keep off of it. Definitely a great weapon for them to have.
Now, Elbert does not have a ton of yards, but he does have 3 rushing TDs, and he has broken one for 67 yards from the running position this year. So back in the shotgun, spread offense as Coach Armstrong mentioned, a little high snap, but handoff inside and immediately eaten up before he could even take a step. And that's Michael Thompson came in and ate up Michael Passarello for a loss of 5. Takes it back to the 19-yard line. And we know Thompson has the capability, and Midview's got to know that as well. They got to be able to identify that and be able to make sure he can't shoot that gap again. Brings up 3rd and long for Midview behind the sticks here. Albert back into shotgun formation with Passarello behind him, and now shifts to the right of him. Receiver stacked on both sides. Albert looks right, gets pressure right away, takes off running and has some room, makes a cut back in the middle, and he's going to have plenty to get a 1st down. Going to be a gain of 17 as he gets all the way out to the 36-yard line. Big, huge play by Albert. Now, he didn't have much time to react, but sometimes you see these plays that are called quarterback keepers. That looked like a called pass play, and that he just immediately got past the initial rush, and when he did that, he had plenty of room. As I mentioned, the Midview offense coming out with 2 receivers stacked on top of each other on both sides of the field, split out wide. This time he's got a single receiver right, twin split to the left, single back to the right of Albert in the backfield. 1st and 10, Midview. Albert this time a handoff, again, going right up the right side of his line, but not too much there. Ball carrier that time was Passarello.
Yeah, Passarello actually just a sophomore. He was the freshman team quarterback last year, he's listed as a quarterback on the roster, but when you have an athlete that talented, you got to get him on the field any way you can, and that's at tailback this year.
The one thing I mentioned in the starting lineups that stands out with Albert is that 6'4" height. You know, it's one of the things when you got that kind of height as a quarterback to be able to see more of the field, see over the defensive line. That's a nice asset. 2nd and 9, Midview, opening drive of the game. 9:22 with the clock running here in the first quarter. Albert takes the shotgun, looks right, quick throw out to the outside, and it just misses on the connection there. That was Cam West, the intended receiver, on the right side, but connection goes awry, so it's going to bring up another 3rd and long for Midview.
Yeah, 3rd and long once again for Midview. Last time, of course, Albert with the scramble, so Avon Lake's going to have to account for him taking off in the run game as well.
This time right to the line with twin receivers split both left and right, but now they'll reset, look for the signal from the sideline. Just trying to keep that Avon Lake defense on their toes. Down to 7 seconds on the play clock. 9:16, clock stopped here after the incomplete pass. 3rd and 9, Albert takes the snap. He's got a little bit of blitz coming from his right side. Kind of senses it a little bit too late, and by the time he jumps up, he is dropped by Lewis Gallagher, who's going to get the sack and drop him back to the 31-yard line. Call it the 32.
Yeah,
so
great
a loss of 5.
Great coverage by Avon Lake there in the back end. And that the difference there was they contained Albert in the pocket. He stepped up, there was nothing there, nowhere to go.
Brings up a 4th and 14, so punting formation for Midview with Luke Stewie, the single returner back for Avon Lake. Kicks away, a little bit more of a line drive. Stewie gets it right at the 40, heads over to the right side, middle of the field across the Midview logo, now to the right side in front of the Midview bench as he's shoved out of bounds at about the 36-yard line. It's going to be a 24-yard return for Stewie and a net punt of only 4 yards on for Midview on that with a great return.
Yeah, low line drive punt, very returnable to the very dangerous Stewie. I'm sure Midview will reconsider kicking to him, as the game goes on here.
I don't know that they got the kick they were looking for on that one. It's always easier said than done. But no score here. First drive for Avon Lake. They're starting this one at the 8:29 mark. So Midview did eat up a decent amount of time on that first drive, even though they only got the 1 first down. That's Mike Affolter as the quarterback. Takes the shotgun snap, and they're going to try to go for the long ball right down the middle first, right off the bat. You got 2 receivers out there, and that is Derek McCrum coming in to grab that one. 1 play, 34-yard touchdown strike. I'm not exactly sure that's the way Coach Kostelnik drew it up in the playbook, because Stewie and McCrum were basically almost running into each other as well as their defenders. But great concentration by McCrum to bring that in on just your standard post pattern. And 6-0 is the score for Avon Lake as that drive takes all of 7 seconds. Did make a change at the kicking spot here, or the place kicking spot for Avon Lake in the last week or so. So not necessarily unhappy with what was happening, but thought they might get a little better result, and they've got a kick that's up and good. Got an extra point for that one off the toe of Holomsky. So 7-0 is the Avon Lake score. Quick drive for the Shoremen. We'll have a quick recap of that when we come back after this break on the Lorain County Sports Network. Back here in Grafton, and Mike Rush along with John Guzik, as we talked in the beginning of the game about big plays, and the Midview offense is certainly prone to those, but Avon Lake says anything you can do, we can do better. And Affolter comes out and just throws a strike right to McCrum. It was a great pass and wonderful concentration on McCrum's part to catch it, but pattern-wise, I don't know that you're ever going to run 2 receivers into each other in the middle of the end zone like that. But worked out well for the Shoremen. They got a 7-0 lead as Walsh kicks it off. And again, it's Dior Jones in the back of the end zone with non-returnable. So Midview will be starting their second drive in the same place they started their first drive. This time it'll be with 8:22 to go in this game. That drive, I mentioned, one play, 34 yards. Strike from Affolter to McCrum gives Avon Lake a 7-0 lead after the kick was good on the extra point, and Middies ready to start drive number 2.
Yeah, not the start, of course, Coach Armstrong was looking for, but Avon Lake, it's exactly what you're looking for. Being the kind of the favorite team, you want to play from in front, and we'll see what Midview can come do here on their second drive.
Interesting on the first drive, they ate up 3.5 minutes of clock, even though they only got one first down. So nice patience by Midview offense, and see if they can make that work for them on this second drive. This one's a handoff, and again, defensively for Avon Lake, they're just eating up the running back as soon as he gets it. Passarello. Is that McCrum in there on that one?
Yeah, no room for Passarello there.
Pace was the first one to get to him, so that's going to be a loss of 1.
Yeah, that stout front from Avon Lake really doing the job right now. Midview's going to have to block so they can allow these playmakers to make plays.
Yeah, there's a lot of good defenses in Lorraine County, but Avon Lake is right there with all of them because, and like Coach Kostelnik said, getting healthier. This time again, try to hand off, but the ball's on the ground. And I don't think the running back, Passarello, ever got it, and a Avon Lake defender was in there to kind of take a swing. Not sure who that was. The ball ended up bouncing on the ground and bouncing backwards, covered by Midview back at the 10.
Yeah, another, broken play. Tough situation to be in here for Midview. Third and extremely long. We'll see if they can just kind of get out of the shadow of their own goal line. And
well, you got Elbert back there. He had an excellent run on third down on the first set of downs, and 3rd and 20 on this one, though. Takes the snap. 3-man rush. Got flushed out of there already. Still looking. Still, he's over the line of scrimmage, so he's not going to get much. And he's finally driven out of bounds. He's chased the whole time by Carter Sargent. I mean, Sargent got the pressure right away, flushed him out of the pocket, and then pursued him all the way to the sideline. It's a pretty athletic move by Sargent. Takes Elbert out of bounds, and I think he's the one who's still on the ground, right?
Yes, he's down on the sideline.
Off the sideline about the 20, kind of on his right arm. You mentioned Passarello has experience as a quarterback. Cody Martin's listed as a quarterback on their depth chart. But you don't want to see anybody get hurt. He's off the field and actually beyond even the 3-yard mark, so I'm not sure how the officials handle this. Ball down at the 17-yard line, so it's going to bring up 4th and 13 after a 7-yard run by Elbert. We've got 6:50 to go in this first quarter, where Avon Lake scored on a one-play drive when they had it. So up there 7-0, and looking to get the ball back, assuming we'll have Midview punting after this 7-yard gain on third down, brings up 4th and 13. So Elbert now kind of to his knees, helmet's off. Not sure, I wouldn't even try to guess of what the injury is there. Of course, he had Carter Sargent falling on him as he went out of bounds, and Sargent 6'3", 220. And you can tell Sargent he's hauling 6'3", 220, but he's definitely can move as he chased him down from his left tackle spot going out of bounds on the opposite side of the field. So quite a start for the Avon Lake defense. And officials are kind of deciding. I guess he's out of the team area is the issue. He's off the field, but team area goes to the 25-yard line, and Elbert's at about the 20. And they're not really attending to him, but the trainer's standing there looking over him, kind of just giving him a chance. So maybe, best case scenario, just got the wind knocked out of him. Sometimes you get tackled, fall on the ball, or the defender falls on him. And hopefully it's no more than that. So we're ready to resume. Midview in punt formation. Snap is back and good. Punts away. A little bit shorter, but so short, Stewie can't get to it. Bounces around and finally covered at the 46-yard line. So a little bit worse situation, but a more effective punt because it ends up being a 29-yard punt, both for the punt as well as the net.
Yeah, once again, great field position for Avon Lake, and they've proven already they can air it out. And with great receivers like Stewie and McCrum, what a luxury for Coach Kostelnik to have.
looking at Elbert on the sideline. He seemed like he was okay, and I believe he's got his, he doesn't have his helmet back on yet, but he's standing around kind of talking normal. Doesn't seem, certainly not limping, putting the headset on to talk to the coaches up here. As Avon Lake gets started on this drive, and this time it's the Midview defense in the backfield, but Wade Nelson gets around the initial onslaught, and just as he moves forward, a flag's thrown from the referee's position, and it's almost always holding back there. And it is, so I wondered, what is the temptation to come back with the exact same play you just ran on the first drive, right? It worked well, make sure they can defend it first, but they go to the running play, and the handoff does not go well for Avon Lake, but Midview's defense was in there. Wade Nelson was bottled up, managed to break free, and this is going to end up being a 10-yard penalty, so it's going to bring up still first down, but now it's 1st and 20, and we're back in Avon Lake territory for the first time today.
And we'll see McCrum and Stewie on the same side. They travel together a lot. It's tough to game plan for.
Twin backs on either side. Affolter, he immediately looks right, gets McCrum on a quick spot up pass and gets himself back into Midview territory, out of bounds at the 44-yard line. So that's going to be a gain of 12 on first down, bringing up 2nd and 8.
Yeah, just a quick hitch on the outside. Nice delivery, nice catch, way to get upfield.
Yeah, how about Affolter's stats so far, right? Both to McCrum, 2 complete passes for 46 yards and a touchdown. It's not a bad way to start the game. 2nd and 8, Avon Lake with the ball this time. Handoff Nelson, again hit by Dye as soon as he gets it, but Nelson does a good job of kind of angling back away from him and falling forward long enough to pick up almost, I call it 2. I'm going to put it down at the 42-yard line, so that's going to bring up the first 3rd down of the day, and Avon Lake immediately to the line with twin receivers on both sides of the ball, and Affolter in the shotgun. Now, just like we see from some of the others, there's no rush to get the play off. To look to the sideline to double check and check things off, and Nelson in the backfield as Affolter takes the shotgun snap and immediately goes to the same play as first down, and this time it's complete. It did get enough to the first down. That's Tyler Burke catching that one. Now Burke brothers on that side of the ball. West brothers receiving for the blue jerseys and Burke brothers receiving for the white jerseys. First down for Avon Lake at the 34.
Yeah, this tempo Avon Lake's coming out with is really, kind of impacted Midview trying to get lined up.
This time it's a swing pass out to Stewie on the left side. Catches the ball behind the line of scrimmage. Immediately heads upfield between the hash mark and the numbers, and he's going to have enough for a first down as well. Gets down to the 22-yard line, so a gain of 12 on that one. And I tell you what, Alex Affolter is putting up some amazing numbers for the first quarter throwing the ball. Back in the shotgun, Avon Lake to the line. 5:05 to play in this first quarter with the Shoremen with a 7-0 lead. This time it's Nelson getting the ball and heading over to the left guard and getting wrapped up and pulled down as he crosses the 20. Gets himself into the I-90 Nissan red zone. That's our first trip into the red zone today.
Yeah, so many weapons for Avon Lake. They can spread it out, and you've already seen, many people touch the ball so far.
2nd and 7. The 19 can go with that. Oh, they got a tight end in there with 3 receivers, and this time he's going to hand off to Nelson on the right side. Goes right over right tackle and just bulls his way forward as much as he could. Good vision by the running back. Sometimes you say good vision because they see a hole and they get to it. But that time you saw that there wasn't much there, so just go forward and make the play and get some positive yards. It brings up 3rd and short as they're down to the 15-yard line now, so a gain of 4 on that one for Nelson.
Yeah, and Avon Lake going with an extra offensive lineman on that right side. Instead of the tight end, they've got an additional lineman in the ballgame.
They had to make a quick substitution because one of the linemen lost his helmet on that last play, so he's got to come out. This time they got a flag as the ball is snapped, and that's going to be a procedure call, making it go from a 3rd and short for the Shoremen to a 3rd and long, their 2nd penalty of this drive.
Yeah, sometimes you can go a little too fast and have some procedure penalties.
Well, I think sometimes, and I don't know if this was the case on that play, but a lot of times they get to the line real quick, and then all of a sudden they stop and look back to the sideline. This time they did not, and that's where they ended with the procedure. So sometimes you get in the habit and don't realize they had changed the call on that one. And now, as they rush to the line after the penalty, they have a substitution issue. So Coach Matt Kostelnik for Avon Lake going to take his first time out of the game. We're going to take a quick time out here and be right back in 30 seconds on the Lorain County Sports Network. Back here in Grafton, where Avon Lake had the ball in their first possession, and it was a one-play drive that gave them a 7-0 lead. Now they're engineering down on their second possession. This has been a 7-play drive that started at the Midview 46, was pushed back by a penalty, got all the way down to the 15-yard line, and now they're pushed back by a penalty again. So it's going to bring up 3rd and 7 from the 20. 4:01 to go in this first quarter. Happy to have you along on the Lorain County Sports Network. This is Stewie in motion behind Affolter. He hands it off to Nelson, who's got a nice hole over right guard opened up, bottled up quickly by the Midview linebackers, and gets down into that decision-making territory because it's going to bring up 4th and a long 1 from the 14-yard line. 6-yard run on that play by Nelson. So it looks like they're keeping the offense in there.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. 4th and about a long 1.
3:30, clock is running here as Avon Lake breaks the huddle and runs to the line with Affolter under center. They're just going to try to draw him off here, I think, but they get a timeout from Midview now. So we have each coach taking a timeout here in the first quarter, and so far, Mike, a quick analysis of kind of who has the upper hand. We know Avon Lake has the upper hand on the scoreboard, but what do you see as the trends and the momentum on the field?
Well, I mean, for Midview offensively, they try to be balanced. And right now, Avon Lake has taken away their run game and making them one-dimensional. Avon Lake's offense versus Midview's defense, they got the big play to start the game. And now on this drive, they're exerting themselves in the run game. So Avon Lake has showed that balance, whereas Midview has been, shut down and one-dimensional thus far. Avon Lake has so many skilled players to go along with the people up front. Obviously, that makes them, very, very difficult team to play against.
Well, Coach Kostelnik mentioned in our Buckeye Community Bank Coaches Corner that he wants to make them one-dimensional. The problem that you have with the Middies is you're good at the passing game, but so far the pass rush by the Avon Lake team has been phenomenal. So that almost makes them zero-dimensional, but we'll see what happens here. It's 4th down. Avon Lake's got the offense out there. They tried to break quickly, but obviously coming out of a timeout. And wait for the whistle from the referee. Both teams set out there. Affolter under center for the first time today. Takes a snap and immediately hands it off with a right guard. And now they got a huge push, not only getting the first down, but getting down inside to the 5-yard line. It looks like just pure strength football on that one. Right off a right guard, right up the A-gap for a first down for Avon Lake. Takes it down to the 5-yard line. Ironically, it's only their second first down of the game, because of the way this game is played out. And again, back to the line with Affolter under center. Takes the snap, hands it off. This time it's Bova going over the right side again. Gets down inside the 3 to about the 2-yard line. So we see Nelson out there. We saw this in the stats too. Nelson getting the bulk of the carries and the yardage, but Bova is the guy in the crunch zone where they're looking to put it in the end zone, and it's exactly what he's doing. Gets the first down and now puts the ball down into the 2-yard line.
Yeah, and they complement each other well. Bova more of a short yardage guy.
Affolter staying under center, this time with Bova behind him. This time it's the A-gap on the left side, and he is going into the end zone, standing up for the second score of the Avon Lake Shoremen night. Puts him up 13-0 here with 2:30 to go in the first quarter and the extra point coming. Those last few plays are just, we're going to push you, and we're going to push you as hard as we can. You're going to try to push back, and Avon Lake offensive line run that series for sure.
Yeah, we knew coming into the game both teams had dynamic skill, and the question was maybe going to be up front, and certainly Avon Lake has shown their advantage so far.
This is Reese Polomsky attempting his second extra point of the night. He did not start the season. Now we got a bad hold on the snap. Snap a little high. Polomsky tries to throw it out there, and it's picked off by the Middies right at the goal line to end that kick attempt. So PAT is no good. Keeps the score at Avon Lake 13, Midview nothing, with 2:30 to go in this first quarter. We'll be back with the next Midi possession right after this on the Lorain County Sports Network. John Guzik with you back here in Grafton, Ohio at Midview High School, where the Avon Lake Shoremen have taken a 13-0 lead here in the first quarter. Really dominating the play at the line of scrimmage, owning the line on both sides of the ball so far in this game. That drive went 44 yards after a Midview punt, and it took up 10 plays, finally with Bova going in from 2 yards out on a run. The PAT was no good. Snap a little high, but Holder couldn't get it and went for naught. Here, this is Ian Walsh kicking off. And again, for the third time already in this first quarter, he puts it in the end zone, so no return by the Middies. The other significant thing about that drive for Avon Lake, their first drive went 7 seconds. That drive was 4 minutes and 11 seconds, bringing us to 2:30 to go in this first quarter.
Couple first quarter scores. After one, Firelands 14-7 over Black River, and also after one, Keystone and Columbia tied with no score.
Now that's a good one. Firelands Black River, because Black River is one of the, I think part of it is location. You don't see as much, you don't hear about as much of them, but you can tell by some of the scores, and we've had games of theirs on WOBL, and we'll be having the Black River Oberlin game right here on the Lorain County Sports Network coming up in a couple of weeks. So looking forward to see what the Pirates are doing on the very, 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 very southern end of Lorain County and the Lorain County League. Here at Southwestern Conference action, and the Midview Middies are back on the field. Albert takes the shot. Oh, no, that's not Albert. He did get hurt on that last play, so we've got and scrambling around and now getting pulled down, and I think we're going to get a face mask, though, on that tackle, is unfortunately for the Avon Lake Shoremen, because they made a great play scrambling back to the inside the 10-yard line. But as they brought him down, I think I saw a hand go across the face mask.
Yeah, Cody Martin, the new quarterback, definitely got bailed out there, kind of running for his life, and Avon Lake got a bunch of his face masks. So
how's that? You know, you're the backup quarterback, and on the very first play, so we're going to ask you to throw, and we're going to have this Avon Lake defense be all over in your face. But another penalty on the Shoremen, so the ball goes back to the original line of scrimmage, the 20, before they mark off a 15-yard penalty. Wow, what a huge, huge turn of events from back being near the 5 to all of a sudden you're out to the 35. So Cody Martin, a great result of that play.
Yeah, tough situation to be in, but you know, a positive outcome for Midview.
Wow, what an incredible change of events. You know, the penalty not from the point of the foul, but goes back to the original, or not, and also not from where he was tackled, but back to the original line of scrimmage. So 1st and 10 Midview. See if they can take advantage of this break as Martin looks left with his left hand and throws left, but he's got more white jerseys out there than blue ones. Was looking for Camden Scott on that one. The ball falls incomplete, bring up 2nd down.
A couple more scores being passed along. Clearview winning 14-0 over Oberlin, and Lorain and Willoughby South tied at 7.
The Lorain program that you got to talk a little bit about this year. You know, they've come a long way, and they play in one of those leagues where, you know, you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself, but, you know, they're obviously a favorite in that conference there. Here in this game, it's Midview with 2nd and 10, and Cody Martin again throwing, and this time he's getting wrapped up and brought to the ground. First person to get to him, still on his back, is Tyler Fuente. And that's going to be the 2nd sack of a Midview quarterback today. If you're just joining us, Ethan Elbert was a starting quarterback for Midview on the last series on a 3rd down play. He got tackled out of bounds and stayed down for a couple of minutes. He got up, was walking around, got the headset on. We're not sure what the injury was, but Cody Martin has stepped in, and all 3 times they've asked him to throw the ball, and none of them have been successful. And now you're 3rd and 13. And he's got pressure again in his face, but he finds Dior Jones cutting in, and Dior Jones makes things happen after the catch, and he spins there in the middle of the field, keeps going into Avon Lake territory and down inside the 40-yard line before he's finally wrapped up and still fighting for an extra yard or two. Tremendous play. That's kind of what you're looking for when Midview becomes one-dimensional. You take away the running play, you want those quick-hitting plays, and Dior Jones is the guy who's going to make things happen after the catch. And then now we're going to add a roughing the passer on top of that. And I'll be honest, my vision went right to Dior Jones, so I'm not sure who was the culprit there, but ball's going to be marked off. They got down to the 39-yard line. So on the pass play, that's going to be a gain of 26, and then they're going to move it up to the Avon Lake 24. So in a matter of seconds, we've gone from a sack back at the 5, where Midview would be looking at a horrible start to this drive, to 1st and 10 at the Avon Lake 24, and obviously grabbing a lot of momentum with that huge play by Jones.
Yeah, you see Midview finally get the ball to one of their playmakers with a chance to make a play, get the ball out quick, like you said, and let them do the rest of the work. Don't let that pass rush from Avon Lake get in the backfield, get it out quick.
When you say it, it sounds simple, but man, I tell you, Avon Lake's front three guys have been getting in the backfield so quickly that as the quarterback, and you need that extra half a second at least. And here we got motion now by Midview, a little high snap. Martin takes it, hands it off, and right away being wrapped up and spun to the ground is Michael Thompson, making his second tackle for a loss today, as he grabbed Camden Scott after he got the ball and drops him for a 6-yard loss back to the 30-yard line. What another huge play by Michael Thompson, his 6th tackle for a loss this year.
Yeah, and if you're Midview, you got to try to avoid those negative plays. It's hard, backup quarterback, to look up and be 2nd and 16.
Well, we got to watch what's happening up front with the Midview Middies, because they're shooting different people in different gaps every time. I'm talking about the Shoremen defense, and one way or another, you got to shut that down. There's kind of a snap, kind of floats as Martin looks. He gets pressure right away, and the time he kind of just spikes the ball down. The ball did not get back to the line. It got close to the line of scrimmage, but he did have a receiver in that direction, so I don't think we're going to see any type of grounding flag. He was wrapped up, but it is going to bring up 3rd down and long for the Midview offense again.
Yeah, Avon Lake playing cover 2. Their corners are just so physical on the outside.
Yeah, it's like, where do you find the weakness on this Avon Lake defense? We're seeing the front guys that's just shooting gaps and getting in the backfield. The linebackers lead the team in tackles. And then you got talk about these defensive backs back there who just play very aggressive defense on all sides. Martin drops back again. We're getting pressure pretty quick, but this time they got the screen set up and waiting smartly for the block to come through is Hunter Anderson. Gets it inside the 20, not enough for a 1st down. Going to bring up about 4th. They're going to mark it at the 20. It's going to bring up a 4th and 6. Good play and smart play by Anderson to wait for his blocker on the screen. And then he just lost his footing, so we're going to get a end of the 1st quarter here in Midview. That'll give Coach Armstrong for the Middies a chance to figure out what they want to do on 4th down, so don't go anywhere. We've got a good one here in the Southwestern Conference with Avon Lake leading Midview 13-0, and we'll be right back on the Lorain County Sports Network. All right, it's early in this game. We're just getting to the start of the 2nd quarter, but kind of a big play here, Mike Rush.
Yeah, absolutely. Midview put together a nice drive, aided by some Avon Lake penalties, and trying to stay in this one. Fourth down coming up here in about 6. We'll see what they come to.
Going for it on 4th down. Avon Lake defense has been tough, but penalties have killed the Shoremen. You're trying to set up a middle screen. bounced up in the air, and I believe that's intercepted at about the 23-yard line. And Avon Lake's going to get the ball regardless, but it was pulled down by a Shoreman. One of their defensive linemen is going to get his name in the stat book for a interception. And I'm pretty sure, that was Lewis Gallagher who actually ended up with the ball. And that's going to be a stat anomaly that Lewis is going to be pointing out to his grandchildren 40 years from now.
Yeah, that's a defensive lineman's dream right there. A screen, you read it, you retrace, and you're able to get a pick.
But they're like, Grandpa, you were 270 yards, 270 pounds. How'd you get an interception? So that drive dies on the turnover for Midview, and not a huge turnover in that respect. If you're not going to get the first down, Avon Lake's get the ball anyway. But now they started at 25 with 11:51 to go in this second quarter. Avon Lake has scored on both possessions. This time handing off the ball and breaking out into the open on the left side, and still on his feet, getting past the 40 all the way to the 45-yard line for the Shoremen is Anthony Benedict. And the junior has not had a ton of carries this year, but making the most of that one for sure, getting outside and getting all the way to the 45-yard line. So a gain of 20 to start on this third drive for the Shoremen.
You see, that's the third back that Avon Lake has used, and they're all very, capable backs, and it makes sense to spread the load out and give everyone touches.
1st and 10 Shoremen, still on Midview side of the field. Affolter in the shotgun. This time hands off again. This is Benedict, but this time he's met in the backfield. Still stays on his feet. Misses another tackle, but finally wrapped up for an even bigger loss. So Midview Middies defense, tremendous pursuit as the first two defenders got to him but did not bring him to the ground. But as he fought for yardage, he went backwards all the way to the 37-yard line. So a loss of 8 on that one for the Shoremen. It's going to bring up 2nd and 18. Great play for the Midview defense here. Certainly their shining play of this first half. Affolter in the shotgun, takes the snap, looking down the middle of the field, now throws left and has a timing pattern, and it's complete. Caught at the 30, skips a tackle by Passarello at the 15, and going all the way into the end zone is Carter Burke. No flags down on that one, as what a tremendous play by the Shoremen. That's the one that you draw up in the on the playground in the middle of the summer and say, guy, just go deep down the left side. I'll hit you right on the sideline. And Affolter put it exactly where it needed to be. And then after that, Burke made some dancing moves to take it all the way to the house for a 63-yard touchdown play. My goodness, we got to talk about Affolter's passing stats when we get a chance and get them all tallied up here, as Avon Lake now is up 19-0 here early in the second quarter. Extra point to come. And Reese Polomsky has this one lined up. The last extra point attempt was unsuccessful by the Shoremen. This time snaps good, holds good, and the kick is up and through, giving Avon Lake a 20-0 lead with 10:35 to go here in the first half. We'll be back with more Shoremen and Middies on the Lorain County Sports Network. I think we've got a candidate for our electric play of the game. We will try to find those every time we're on the air here on the Lorain County Sports Network. But Carter Burke is really electrified the crowd, at least on the Shoreman side of the field on that one. And tremendous play puts the Shoremen up 20-0. John Guzik along with Mike Rush here in Grafton, Ohio, back with you. 20-0 now Shoremen as they kick off this time. First time kicking off north, and they got a little bit of a breeze coming out of the northeast. So this time Dior Jones gets it at the 10, gets it out across the 26, trying to fight for some more yardage, but the Avon Lake coverage team puts an end to that one before he can make any more damage. But this will be the best starting position of the game for the Midview Middies as Sam Ferrone brings him down on special teams there. Middies going to start this drive at their own 27-yard line.
Yeah, and tough sequence there from Midview. Obviously, you get stopped on the 4th down. You're finally putting together a drive, and Avon Lake's able to go down the field with a big play and score. And Affolter 5 for 5 so far for 128 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Well, that last drive for Midview is going to go down as over 30 yards in penalty on the Shoremen, but it really ended up being about 45 yards in penalties, the net result, because the first penalty came on a huge sack. So Avon Lake's pressure on the pass game has been phenomenal so far. Let's see if they can pick it up, and this time it's Albert back in there at quarterback, and a quick shot out on the left side. Ball is caught at the 30-yard line. And that is Cross Worvey getting his first catch of the day, and a gain of about, put it down to 31, so a gain of 4. 10:04 to go in this first half. Midview trying to mount a drive. Elbert took the last series off after getting injured the series before that, but he's back out there trying to make the most of things for the Middy offense. This time he fakes the reverse and is looking right, but again, pressure from the Avon Lake front line already. Now skips around another defender being pressured. Great job of Elbert, not only avoiding I'll give him 3 points on that because he avoided twice the defenders, but also kept his head, you could see, looking downfield, trying to compete the play. But at the end of the day, he gets himself out in position for a 3rd and short. He's at the 36, gets a 5-yard gain on that one.
Yeah, great job just to make something out of nothing there. It looked disastrous in the beginning, and he's able to get positive yards out of it.
You want to mix things up as he faked that end around to Cross Worvey coming behind him, but with the way the pressure's coming from the Avon Lake front line, sometimes you don't have time to do that. This time Albert back looking left, throwing left, and this time he's got some muscle on it, but both the defender and the receiver get their legs tied up before the ball can even get anywhere near them. The defense was out there, was Will Sindelar for Avon Lake, and running the pattern for the Middies was Jaden Stout, and they got tangled up before the ball could even get out there. So the ball falls incomplete and going to bring up 4th and 1. And I think you're going to have to go into a punting situation, although Elbert is back there for Midview, still looking at the sideline. And now we get a flag. I think we're going to have some type of illegal substitution, as Elbert is staying in there, but he was going to be the punter this time around. But now they're going to punt from 5 yards back. So instead of 4th and 1, going to be 4th and 6 here for the Middies. And Luke Stewie's going to be deep. We saw one really great return on the first punt that Stewie had. The second one was a little shorter but more effective for the Middies because Stewie couldn't get to it. But he's had a great job returning the ball all season. This is a line drive kick that's going to bounce, and Stewie's trying to track it down, and he does at the 31. Has a little bit of room as he gets a first blocker, and now he's got some space as he gets across midfield and into Middy territory, and still on his feet as he goes almost back to the original line of scrimmage. And I think he is going to go out of bounds at the original line of scrimmage, a 31-yard line. He caught it, picked it up at the 31, gets it back to the 31, which was the Middies' line of scrimmage on that play. So you got a nice punt of 38 yards. You got a punt return of 38 yards. Stewie just making it, eliminating the punt team for the Middies.
Yeah, you see Avon Lake dynamic in the return game as well with those athletes.
9:19 to go in this first half. Avon Lake starting this drive at the Middy 31. This time Affolter keeping it after he fakes the Bova, and good pursuit by the Middy defense on that one. Basically gets him a couple, maybe 3 on that one. Out there right away for the Middies defense, led out on the outside by Max Kucera. Max got another good family that's impacted Midview football here, the Kuceras. All right, 2nd and 7 for Avon Lake. Affolter looked right, nothing there. Now gets pressure, and he's almost down. Scoots away from that tackle and gets out to the left side before he's pushed out of bounds. And gets out to about the 20. I think they're going to mark this one at the 24-yard line, so not much of a gain there. Call it 4.
Yeah, broken play there. Once again, Affolter doing what he can to, make something of it. In Midview, you need to make the tackle. You need to wrap up.
Hunter Anderson was the one who got him out of bounds for the Middies, and he kind of looked. If you looked at just at the end of the play, it looked like he was not letting him go and pushing onto him. But Anderson was falling down. He wanted to make sure he didn't trip Affolter, so it was actually a sportsmanship kind of play. Even though there was a lot of contact on the quarterback, well out of bounds, so certainly no flag on that one. Third down for the Shoremen. 3rd and 3. Bova shifts around in the backfield. Affolter takes the snap, looks right, and looks inside now. This time he's got a completed pass to Stewie inside the 15, down to the 12. That's going to be a first down for the Shoremen. Another 12 yards passing for Alex Affolter, who is just rolling up the stats today. Avon Lake right to the line of scrimmage here. First and 10. They are in the I-90 Nissan red zone again.
Are you kidding me?
Affolter calling the shots, gets this shotgun snap, looks down the middle on the left side now, and he's got a completed pass inside the 5. And that one goes to Carter Burke, who already has a touchdown today. That's his second, I believe his second catch, and the ball's marked down at the 2-yard line. So a gain of 10. It moves the sticks, and another first down for the Shoremen. 1st and goal from the 2. Shoreman really trying to put the hurt on the Middies right now. He said had a great drive by Midview that ended up with the interception and a lot of momentum for the Middies, but Shoreman getting it all back, and this time it's Bova right up the middle again. They've run this play a few times this year, and it's touchdown number 2 for Bova as he takes it into the end zone. Jake Bova makes it Avon Lake 26, Middies 0 when we're not even halfway through the second quarter. This has really been an explosion by the Avon Lake offense.
Yeah, Avon Lake operating at a very high level, all phases of the game. Tough half for Midview here. Just trying to get something to feel positive about.
This is feeling a lot like the Midview Avon Lake game last year, played up in the northern part of the county. Not the way the Middies wanted that one to go, but the Shoreman offense really lighting it up. And Reese Polomsky puts that extra point through to make it 27-0. Avon Lake over Midview with 7:46 to go in the first half. We'll be back. See if Midview can gain back some of their momentum. So stay with us on the Lorain County Sports Network. Back here in Grafton, where the Avon Lake Shoremen have had 4 drives today. The first one, a 1-play drive that went for a touchdown. Their longest drive of the game was their second possession, and they punched that one in with a Bova run. And then Carter Burke took it on a 63-yard touchdown pass on the 3rd play of their 3rd drive. Now a 4-play drive has put it in the end zone with Bova again, putting the score 27-0 in favor of Avon Lake. As this is something that the offense really has not done yet this year by Avon Lake, of putting 4 drives together back to back to back to back that have all ended up in the end zone. And that's a big step forward for the Avon Lake Shoremen, but a lot of it has been driven by that Avon Lake defense. And here we got another kickoff by the Shoremen that is not returnable. So Midview will be starting yet another drive at their own 20-yard line. And that makes it a little bit easier for the defense, too, and you're always got 80 yards in front of you to go.
Yeah, I think if you look at Avon Lake, they're really playing complementary football. All units are complementing each other, and they're doing it as a team right now.
We saw a couple glimpses of the Midview offense getting going. Some of it that was aided by some Avon Lake penalties. But if they can clean that up, it makes it tougher for the Middies to move. They got trips right on this one to start off with. Ethan Albert going to do a little swing out on the left side to Passarello, and he is dancing around his first defender. And while he's doing that, it's Carter Sargent just comes from behind and buries him to the ground off his back. It's a gain of 1 for the Middies. That Carter Sargent, he moves pretty darn well for someone his size.
Yeah, team speed on Avon Lake's defense. You can see it at all levels of the defense.
Right, that's what we talk about. Good defensive teams, good defensive units. You have 11 good defensive players out there for Avon Lake, and who also are doing a great job of playing well as a unit, which is something Coach Kostelnik talked about before the game. It's something that they thought they could do better, and we're seeing it here tonight. 2nd and 9 for the Middies. Elbert gets the shotgun snap and gets pressured out, rolling left, going to keep it this time, and gets himself a first down, I believe. Stayed in bounds long enough. See, nope, they're marking it back. I guess he stepped out about the 26. I thought the way he was coasting, he was trying to just get the flag, but he's on the opposite side of the field for us. So picking up the referee signal after the fact, puts it down at the 26-yard line. So that's going to be a gain of 5 and bring up 3rd and 4. And this is a spot in the game where Middies need to start converting some more third downs, as the game's going to get really short for them if they don't start putting up some points.
Yeah, you got to try to sustain a drive here, not give it back to that potent Avon Lake offense.
So 3rd and 4, Elbert in the shotgun. Motion coming at him, fakes that handoff. He wanted to keep it and just scoot up the middle, but the middle of the Avon Lake defense had nothing going with that. And now we get a flag coming out, and I'm not sure who this one's going to be on, as we got a loss on the play on Albert on the keeper, but we're going to get a dead ball, personal foul on the Shoremen. So they're going to help them convert. It's going to be a loss of 2 on the running play, and then the 15-yard penalty is going to move it out to the 39 and be another first down by penalty. This is the 2nd time that Avon Lake has had tackles for losses, but yet have been positive plays and first downs for the Middies. Earlier in the game, back in the first quarter, they had a sack back at the 5, and with the face mask penalty ended up out at the 35. That would have been probably getting the ball back on 4th down, but now Middies keep this drive alive, and they are at the 39, 1st and 10. Dye running off for the Middies as West runs on, Cam West, that is. I've got two receivers in a slot to the left, one receiver right. Albert takes the snap. Looking. Most time he's had to throw, but the coverage by Avon Lake is phenomenal, and now he's going to get rid of it as he goes out of bounds, and it looks like the ball is caught. And we've got a flag on this one. Ball's caught at the 44-yard line. I believe it's illegal touching by Midview. I believe that Midview player had stepped out of bounds, Dane West, and then came back inbounds to catch the ball. So that's going to be illegal touching on Midview. So not only going to negate really a very athletic play by Elbert, keeping that play alive and putting the ball right where it needed to be, kind of a high throw where you could go up and grab it, but you can't step out of bounds and then be the first player to touch the ball when you get back in. So they'll bring that back to the original line of scrimmage, mark off 10 yards on that one. But it will stay first down for the...
Yeah, tough play for Midview. Albert just running around trying to make a play, and he's able to make a play, but tough situation for Midview here. And
now they just moved it from the it looked like they were going to make it a 9-yard penalty, marked at 30. Now apparently it's a 15-yard penalty back to the 24 of Midview. So that one really hurts bad and brings up 1st and 25. We're at the 6:15 mark with the clock stopped right now in the second quarter, and Avon Lake leading 27-0 over Midview. Second week of conference action in the Southwestern Conference for these teams. Now you talk about being one-dimensional. You start with 1st and 25. You're almost certainly going to be looking to the pass game. Fakes the little screen pass on the left side and throwing it deep for Dior Jones, but he's got double coverage down there, and the ball falls incomplete. Double coverage out there for Avon Lake. Joseph Herron, one of the defenders back there, and Luke Stewie. So Herron and Stewie had Jones kind of sussed out there as they faked the little screen pass on the left side and tried to go for the home run ball. Falls incomplete, so it's going to bring up 2nd down and 25. We're still back at the Midview 24. Drive started at the 20, and Midview got a first down, but now they're still only at the 24-yard line on this drive, trying to make something happen, try to get back in this game. And a little confusion while they're signaling in from the sideline, and Coach Armstrong finally said, wait a minute, we are not ready. We're going to take timeout number 2, so we'll take a quick timeout as well here. Come back and watch some more Midview Avon Lake with the Shoremen leading 27-0. We'll be right back on the Lorraine County Sports Network. Grafton, Ohio tonight for high school football. It's Midview taking on Avon Lake. The Middies in the blue shirt got 2nd and 25. Ethan Elbert trying to keep this drive alive. Takes the snap. He's got Wes cutting in on a slant in pattern to try to get him ball while he was in motion. His throw was a little bit high. He couldn't bring it in. Falls incomplete and going to bring up 3rd down here. I was sorry, just Dane West was the intended receiver. I like the design of that play, though. Got Dane coming in towards the line of scrimmage, but not really a screen pass because usually on a screen, your feet are set. That time he was moving.
Yeah, kind of that
incomplete 3rd down.
Kind of that tunnel screen, trying to get him one of their playmakers a touch.
Midview's got trips right, twin receivers left. Nobody in the backfield with Elbert as he takes the snap and gets pressured again right away, but slips through the defense and now sets himself and throws a strike, but falls incomplete. Would have been not quite for a 1st down anyway. Dior Jones was the intended receiver. But again, the Avon Lake defense just all over it. Flushes Elbert out of the pocket when he's trying to set up to throw. He did a great job of stopping and setting his feet before he threw the ball. But you got 2 Avon Lake defensive backs crowding around your receiver, making it almost impossible to bring it in.
Yeah, tough situation there. You see the speed there from Avon Lake as well, the way they can break on the ball when it's in the air.
Another punt for the Middies. Nice punt. This time it sends Stewie running back. It's over his head, bounces all the way inside the 20-yard line. What a beautiful punt on that play. 56 yards on the punt by Elbert. Wow. I mean, first of all, I had to get it over Stewie's head, and we know what kind of speed he has and what a beat he takes on the ball. So to get a great punt over his head to begin with, but then get a wonderful bounce up, put it right at the 20. So I guess we can't give him an inside the 20 punt, but he'll take the 56-yard punt for sure.
Yeah, a couple scores that we're getting here. Avon 14-7 over North Ridgeville. Clearview is all over Oberlin 35-0. Elyria Catholic 7, Lakewood 3.
Worst starting position of the game. This is the 5th drive for the Avon Lake Shoremen. Starts on their own 20 with 5:46 to go in the half. Got motion coming from the right side, and this time Affolter's going to his motion back, who catches the ball behind the line of scrimmage and then gets wrapped up and thrown down just as he gets to the line of scrimmage. Pass caught there by Anthony Benedict. Brings up 2nd and 10 for the Shoremen. I didn't catch the number of the blue jersey that brought him down, but nice defensive play by the Middies. Affolter with twin receivers split on both sides of the ball. Single back behind him. Again, motion from the right side, but then stops in the slot. Handoff goes to the left side with Wade Nelson. I like Wade's approach. You know, it's just like whenever he senses contact, he just kind of forces his whole body forward in a positive direction. Always gets that extra yard and a half after contact. Gets it out to the 28-yard line for a gain of 8 and a 3rd and 2. As the Shoremen get right to the line, but then Michael Passarello for the Middies is down on his back at the 37, and he's going to kind of come off the field. I think he hurt his arm, and he had the heads up to go down to his back when he saw Avon Lake coming to the line of scrimmage. If they snapped the ball before the referee recognizes his injury, that could have been disastrous for the Middies. So he kind of just laid on his back out of necessity to get the officials' attention, but he's legitimately injured, coming off looking like he's looking at his arm.
Yeah, it looks like he's holding his left arm as he ran off there.
Back to the line of scrimmage is the Shoremen. Alex Affolter in the shotgun formation. Got blitz coming up the middle, hands it off left side. This is going to be Wade Nelson again, and he's going to get a 1st down yardage, and that's at Bova. Gets across the 35. Definitely more than enough for the 1st down. Keeps the clock running. That was Nelson. So 4:32 is where the clock stops, where they move the chains. Gain of 8 again. Actually, a gain of 9. They mark it at the 37. So 17 yards rushing for Nelson. We still need to talk about that. Tally up those Affolter passing stats today because they're big. A couple of big touchdown passes. This time it's Wade Nelson going down the right side, trying to make some room at the sweep. And as he crosses the line of scrimmage, gets met up by some blue jerseys and brought down. Gabe Borer gets the tackle for the Middies on that one. Give him 2 yards for Nelson to the 39-yard line.
Yeah, there you see Nelson have to kind of bump it outside. His game is more inside, making that one cut, like you said, and getting what he can.
Definitely a sweep called from the line, from the sideline, though. So I think just kind of making the Middies see that he might do that from time to time. But you're absolutely right. We're seeing him most positive yards in between the tackles. Affolter takes a snap, quick shot out to the right side. It's McCrum again. He gets it about to the midfield. Another first down for the Shoremen. Another completed pass from Affolter to McCrum. We say that a lot. And they're going to mark it just shy of midfield at the Avon Lake 49. So a gain of 10 on that one. Gets another first down for the Shoremen. Clock will run again here from 3:30 to go. First half action. Avon Lake's 5th drive of the game. This time it's a handoff and a little stutter step, and then accelerates through the hole is Benedict. Nice job of waiting for his blockers and then accelerating when he had the room. Another gain of 8 yards for Avon Lake's rushing game. It's the 3rd 8-yard run just on this drive alone. Brings up 2nd and 2 into Midi territory. Affolter again ready for the snap. Hands off. Nelson starts to the right guard, but then cuts off the left side and gets another first down, this time all the way down to the 28-yard line. That one will be a gain of 15.
Yeah, and Avon Lake, they just keep coming at you. Multiple backs, multiple weapons, their pace. They're just wearing Midview out right now.
Mixing it up just right. Certainly a run-dominated drive, but they mix in the pass here where they have to. And this is Affolter handing it off again. Nelson kind of hesitates and then finds his hole and jumps forward again for a gain of 4. Again, I like the fact that he gets yards after contact. That's the difference between having a 3-yard per carry average and a 4-yard per carry average, which is a huge difference. And to put the ball down here at the 24-yard line.
Yeah, Nelson's very decisive. I mean, he doesn't waste time. He gets that ball, he hits the hole, he gets up the field.
Affolter on 2nd down takes the snap. This is a throwing down, and he's got a guy wide open. It's McCrum, catches the ball at the 2 as he spins backwards and just coasts into the end zone for his 2nd touchdown reception of the game. And that puts the Shoremen up 33-0 here with 2:09 still to go in the first half. Wow, that was just like, that's exactly how you practice it. I mean, this is what these guys look like. They look like they're out of practice today. Affolter to his receivers.
Yeah, Affolter's perfect, 9 for 9. He has not thrown an incomplete pass. He's got 3 touchdowns.
That is amazing because he has mixed it up from deep passes to swing passes to, finesse passes. He's done everything. And like I said, 9 for 9, and the kick by Polomsky is good to make it 34-0 Midview with 2:09 to go in this first half. Wow, the Avon Lake Shoremen clicking on all cylinders. See what Midview can do to get back in this game if you stay with us here on the Lorain County Sports Network. Back here in Grafton, where it's been all Avon Lake, kind of just like it was last year. A final of 56-7 last year. This year, the Shoremen are out to a 34-0 start here at 2:09 to go still in this first half. They have scored on every single drive, and that one culminating on the 9th play of the drive was a 24-yard touchdown pass to Derek McCrum, his 2nd touchdown catch of the day, 3rd touchdown pass by Alex Affolter. And as we get the kickoff here from Ian Walsh, ball again going towards the end zone, is right at the goal line, so they're going to let him bring it out. I think the ball was just before the goal line, and still on his feet past the 20, past the 25, and finally brought down is Cam West as he tries to fight for all the yardage he can get, as Middies, certainly not going to be daunted as far as their effort and their intensity of trying to get back in this game. They'll start this drive at the 27-yard line from where they're standing. Mike Rush is along with me, and he's been tallying all the stats you mentioned Affolter, 9 for 9, and I just said it's his 3rd touchdown pass. kind of yardage did you get on those 9 passes?
Yeah, he's a perfect 9 for 9 for 184 yards. I needed to get the calculator out for that one.
Well, I don't need the calculator to know that's just over 20 yards per catch, per throw, and all of them completions from Alex Affolter. That's an incredible night for the young man. And he's only a junior. This is Albert. He's going to keep that one. That was a keeper all the way. But he had one final defender from the Avon Lake line. I believe that was Lewis Gallagher, who got a hand on him and brought him down after a gain of just 2. So they'll put the ball down right at the 30-yard line. Under 2 minutes to go in this first half. See if Midview can make something out of this, because Avon Lake gets the ball to start the second half. Elbert looks to throw, wants it to tuck it in and go. And again, he has one guy from Avon Lake that's put an arm on him. And I think that was Carter Sargent that got to him first and put enough weight into him that he's brought down by Gallagher eventually. But a gain of about 1, going to bring up quickly 3rd and 7 for. I'll put it right at the 30, so we're going to have to call it a gain of 0.
If you're Midview, you're trying to get the ball out quick. Problem is Avon Lake's sitting on that quick game, and their rush is getting home.
And the Avon Lake defense just continues to adjust play to play. And this time they're trying to run it right up the gut. And it's met right at the line of scrimmage by Tyler Fuente. Gets some help bringing down the running back after a very, very short gain again. And mark it out to the 33-yard line. So it's going to bring up a 4th and a long 5, and the Midview offense staying out there as the clock continues to run. We're under 30 seconds as we approach halftime. Stay tuned. We'll have all the stats for you because there's a lot on the Shoremen side of the ball that I'm sure you want to hear about. It's been an impressive evening for Avon Lake, and now with just 8 seconds to go on the play clock, I think Midview's going to go ahead and take a timeout here and then let the half end. And that's what they're going to do. They call timeout with 7.9 seconds on the game clock. That's the 3rd and final timeout for the Middies. And at this point, do you try a desperation play here on this from this point on the field on 4th down, or do you just take a knee? You can't really. Well, you can take a knee because then Avon Lake
it's kind of an interesting situation for Coach Armstrong. I would say if you can punt the ball out of bounds, do so. I wouldn't punt it though to Stewie. Try to punt it out of bounds.
Well, they did a good job on Stewie's had one excellent punt return. They had another one where they kind of bounced it past them, kind of a line drive. What was impressive was the last punt by Albert actually kicked it over his head. If you can do that every time, then that makes it a lot easier. But as we've said just a minute ago about the Avon Lake defense, they adjust. So I'll be surprised if Luke Stewie doesn't, line up a slightly different spot if they on whatever the next punt is. And it does look like Albert's going to go back in punt formation. He's the quarterback, but also the punter here. But Passarello had one of the punts here when Albert was out earlier. And yep, it's Stewie. This time he's lined up back about the 36-yard line. And that would make it about a 33-yard punt in the air. And again, Albert going with a line drive, but it's a line drive right to Stewie at the 34 as he just backs up a step right in the middle of the field. Now heads to the right side, gets around a couple of guys, and he's got, just barely ready to break free and take that one to the house, and he got a touchdown saving tackle on the far side of the field. Wow, that's Albert who came in and brought him down. The good news for the Middies is that return took a whole 7.9 seconds with the punt and the hang time, so it does bring this first half to a close, and the Middies are kind of happy about that. Just put this one behind them and see what they can do and start to break free in the second half. But with a 34-point lead, the Shoremen are going to be looking at a running clock here in the second half when we come back. So we've got a lot to cover in the halftime show coming up. We'll be able to listen in a little bit of the band performances, both from Avon Lake and the Middies. We also are going to have that all-important Rate the Dog segment coming up. So stick around for all of that. Plus, of course, the second half, and we'll have more scores from some of the other games that are going on around the county if you stick around with us on the Lorain County Sports Network. is the Avon Lake Shoremen Band out there entertaining the crowd and doing an excellent job of it. We actually had a vocalist to start that song that the Shoremen brought in, as well as their tremendous traveling percussion section that is actually off the field in front. Just an incredible production of the effort just to haul all that stuff around to all these different events, not just the football games, but all the band competitions that they're in is just amazing. The work they put into this, a great job by the Avon Lake Shoremen Band. And of course, they're following up a great performance by the Avon Lake Shoremen team. And at the halftime, you want to sit there and say, oh, well, this part of their game was really good, and this is, but my goodness, it was all around Shoremen on all facets of the game.
Yeah, really just operating at a really high level. Like as we said in the first half, complementary football. Offense supporting the defense, the special teams chipping in, and it really started from the first play with the big pass play for the touchdown. Really playing at a high level. Midview, tough half. Didn't get off to a good start that they needed to. Haven't been able to get the ball to their playmakers, and certainly time to regroup at halftime.
I tell you what, you look for things that you talk to the coaches before the game. Oh, we're working on this, we're working on that. But I'll tell you what, Coach Kostelnik for Avon Lake, he kind of nailed it right away. He said, we're getting back healthy on defense, and we're going to play faster because of that. And we want to get better at completing drives on the offensive side of things. And so it couldn't have gone better. The Avon Lake Shoremen have had 5 drives. The interesting thing is I only have them for 9 first downs in this first half, and yet I have them for 5 touchdowns as they have had short drives, big plays, sustained drives. They have done it from start to finish as Midview started the game with the ball and took some decent time off the clock, even though they didn't move it much. But after a nice punt return, just get things started at the first one, there was no punt return, started at their own 34. Now, I'm sorry. It's the middle of the season, but I can have a hiccup here. First drive, great return on the punt by Luke Stewie, who takes it all the way back to the Midview 34 is where Avon Lake starts their first drive, and Affolter just drops back and drops one right down the middle of the field to Derek McCrum for a one-play drive to give Avon Lake a 7-0 lead. And just like last week, they get an early lead on Berea, led from start to finish, and they're on that same pace, of course, with even bigger numbers from the offensive side of things on this time around, as they just kept piling it on after that. After 3 and out by Midview, Avon Lake comes back with their most sustained drive of the game, and that one ended up with a Bova 2-yard run. Once Avon Lake got the ball inside the red zone, they kind of just let the offensive line just muscle their way into the end zone, and Bova took it in the final 2. Extra point was no good, but that made it 13-0, and that's where the first quarter ended. But early in the second quarter, Avon Lake gets the ball back, and just our electric play of the game, which is brought to you by Honeydude's Handyman. If you got things to do, call the dudes. We appreciate them, but electric it was because Alex Affolter looked down the left side and just had a timing play to Carter Burke. The play started at the 37-yard line of Avon Lake after an 8-yard loss on the first down play. So great throw by Affolter because it was brought in at about the Midview 30 by Burke. He had already beaten the first guy that was defending him, and then at the 15-yard line put a move on a second Middy defender and just danced his way into the end zone. Electric for sure. And made it a 20-0 lead for Avon Lake. They get the ball back with 9:19 to go just a couple minutes later, and this time it's in Midview territory, so this is a short drive, but also capped off by a short run by Bova. His second 2-yard touchdown run of the game makes it 27-0, and then just to make it really impressive, a second touchdown pass to McCrum from Affolter, this one from 24 yards out, capped a 9-play drive on that one, and that's where our score is right now. 34 Avon Lake, 0 for Midview, as this is week 2 of the Southwestern Conference regular season play. And Avon Lake, of course, won their opening game last week against Berea, so they're 1-0. Midview had racked up over 400 yards offense last week, but only put up 7 yards. So you're wondering if they can put up 400 yards again this week. Would that result in more points? We're going to find out about those stats, and we're going to come back and rake the dogs. So stay with us. Avon Lake 34, Midview 0 here at the half in Grafton on the Lorain County Sports Network. You're watching the marching blue of the Midview Middies. The halftime continues here from Grafton as Avon Lake has a 34-0 lead over the Midview Middies. And it is, we've talked about it in the break, it's been just all Avon Lake in the first half. But let's turn things over to Mike Rush here and come in and break down some of the stats and highlight some of the guys who've really stood out here in the first half numbers-wise.
Yeah, individual stats. First for Avon Lake, we've talked about him throughout the half, but Alex Affolter, a perfect 9 for 9 in that first half for 184 yards, 3 touchdowns. On the ground, it's kind of been that three-headed monster for Avon Lake. Wade Nelson, the feature back, he's got 9 carries for 53 yards. And Jake Bova, he's kind of that short yardage guy, right? You're going to see him down on the goal line. He's got 4 carries for 14 yards, but the 2 touchdowns, as well as Anthony Benedict, he's got 4 carries for 19 yards. On the receiving end of those Affolter passes, they've got some good ones. McCrum, 4 catches for 80 yards, 2 touchdowns. Stewie, 2 catches for 24. Carter Burke, 2 catches for 73, including the spectacular 63-yard touchdown. And Tyler Burke has 1 catch for 7 yards. For Midview, it's been tough. They've played the 2 different quarterbacks. Albert is just 2 for 7 through the air for 5 yards. He's been running around trying to make plays all night. Cody Martin was in. He was 2 for 5 for 36 yards. Receiving, Jones 1 catch for 26 yards. Anderson 1 catch. Worvey had a catch for 4 yards. And then rushing, it's been hard establishing a running game here. Passarello just 3 carries for -4 yards. And Albert has run the ball 8 times for 34 yards.
Well, there's no question when we talked to Coach Kostelnik before the game when he said he wanted to make him one-dimensional. He didn't have to ask about, he wanted to make him throw the ball because he's confident that, and not only his defensive backs, but the pressure that the front line can bring. And they have done that because go back to those Alex Affolter stats. You know, you still 9 for 9 and averaging over 20 yards of completion. But look at the team he's doing it against. You know, I mean, this is not some pushover defense out there. As a matter of fact, in the last 3 weeks, the Midview defense has only given up 36 points. They've given up 34 in the first half of this game. I mean, that kind of tells you, I mean, you're not doing this against a bunch of, you know, some second-rate defense out there. He is just really, you know, kind of that middle of the season. You want to come into your groove and be able to show, hey, here's what we can do the rest of the year. The defense has been solid for Avon Lake from start to finish. They're actually improving with their added health, and part of that health brings some more speed to their defense. But to see the offense really come into its own today, and really they've been spreading the ball around. You know, you talk about McCrum has a couple touchdowns. Burke had that great electric play. Bova's put in the end zone a couple times. Wade Nelson's done it, you know, inside the 20s. You know, it makes it really hard to stop that defense, the offense, because what the Avon Lake defense was doing to make Midview one-dimensional, the Avon Lake offense has done the exact opposite by making sure they were multi-dimensional. And that's why we're at 34-0 here at halftime. We still got about 5.5 minutes to go in this halftime. Usually with these games, they're going to add another 3 minutes to get the players warmed up. So we've got all kinds of second half action coming up for you, and I want to thank you for being a part of our Lorain County Sports Network. We're going to be on every Friday night, as we have been, and week 6 is going to take us over to Illyria. And we are going to be having this North Ridgeville team that's taking on Avon tonight. The undefeated North Ridgeville Rangers will be going over to Illyria, and we'll see new Illyria coach Brian Fox for the first time this year, and happy to have them on our Lorain County Sports Network. Remind you tonight that we also have games on WOBL, where Columbia is taking on Keystone, and over on WDLW is that Avon North Ridgeville game. Battle of Unbeatens in the Southwestern Conference, and you just know that there's Avon Lake fans that are keeping an eye on that one while they're watching their everything go here. So we do have some scores from some of the other games, and Edwin Vereen bringing some of these in for me. So if I mess any of these up, Edwin, just correct me over my back here. But in that game, Avon North Ridgeville, which is on WDLW, you can listen to that as well as the postgame show. And Avon is up 21-7 on North Ridgeville. This one kind of a surprise because Amherst came in here last week and played Midview, and we talked about how their defense gave up 400 points, but kind of that bend didn't break, only gave up 7 points to Midview. This week, Berea already has 31 points on the board, beating Amherst 31-0. Lorraine is tied with Willoughby South at 7. Brookside and Wellington are both tied up at 14. Firelands has an interesting game going on again. We were happy to have a great competitive game for them last week against Columbia. This week, they're up 7 on Black River, 21-14. Clearview all over Oberlin, 40-0. Olmsted Falls is beating that Illyria team that we just talked about that we'll have on next week. They're up 14-0 on that one. EC is up 21-3 on the Lakewood Rangers. I certainly thought it would be a competitive game there to only hold them to 3 points so far. Fabulous job by the EC Panthers. And in a couple other games, we've got Sandusky up on Vermilion 32-21. We'll have Vermilion later on this year on Lorain County Sports Network. And in that Columbia Keystone game, which is on WOBL, Columbia nursing an 8-0 lead against Keystone in that one. So really some really great games going on around the county. We'll try to keep you as involved and up to date on many of those as we can. From here, not quite that competitive. It's Avon Lake 34 and Midview nothing. And as we get ready for the second half, we'll take another quick break. And when we come back, we all get to rate the dog here, which is always a fun segment here at halftime on the Lorain County Sports Network. Midview Mini Bands wrapping up their halftime performance. I think the hardest thing about being an Avon Lake fan tonight is you can't help but be loving the results on the field, and you have a great band that preceded that Midview halftime show, but the Avon Lake band performs to the home side, so if you're an Avon Lake fan, you have to make the trek over to this side to see your band up front and personal. But that's the hardest thing you got to do as a Shoremen fan tonight. You'll take it because it's Avon Lake 34, Midview nothing here at halftime, and we appreciate our friends at I-90 Nissan bringing you this halftime show. It's time to rate the dog, though, and our friend Brian Victor of Howard Hanna always says enjoy the game. Part of enjoying the game is enjoying that dog at halftime, so we rate the dog each and every week. Keep track of who's got the best dog around Lorain County according to our production and broadcast team here. So I will turn things over. We'll start with our videographer, Andrew Bauman. Come in here. What do you think about tonight's Midview concession stand hot dog?
I'd give that one a solid 3.
Now, you have been one of the more stingier guys giving points out. So we remind our viewers or listeners, we go on a scale of 1 to 5. So a 3 from Andrew is a pretty solid, result out there. Edwin Vereen is our on-site engineer as well as our producer and director here on Jack of All Trades, and he gets to rate the dog as well tonight. What did you give that one, Edwin?
Well, let's see. I will give this hot dog a 3.5. The bun was soft and the hot dog was very, very tasty. So, a solid 3.5.
Yeah, excellent job for them. And then Mike Rush, you get a chance to dive through all those stats and go all those numbers. We make you stuff your face as well and try out this one. So what'd you think of?
Yeah, I was able to get a bite in between stats, and I'm gonna go with that one, 3.5. I was very, very pleased tonight with Midview's hot dog.
And I was giving it a 3.5 too, but after taking a few bites, I will tell you it finishes well. Is that a possibility for a hot dog? It finished well. Plus, I don't like to do really hard math, so dividing 5 by 4 is much more difficult.
Make it easy.
So I'm gonna give it a 3.6. And that'll allow me to bump that up and make it an average that's a little more palatable. That's a good word for rating the dog.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
It's a palatable hot dog.
Look that one up.
It's a palatable math result. I'll give it a 3.6. We appreciate our friend Brian Victor for giving us some extra fun at halftime as we rate the dog here at Midview. And next week we get to try out the Elyria concession stand as we'll be rating the dog at the Pioneers home field next week. So here we are in Grafton. We've got 34-0 Avon Lake up as we wind down halftime. And Mike Rush, some final thoughts on what Midview might need to do here in the second half. Again, they're going to start on defense, so it's not going to make it easy to get back in this game.
Yeah, they're not going to quit. You're just trying to build. I mean, you're trying to build for the rest of the season. Brighter days are ahead for Coach Armstrong and his Midview football program. They've run into an excellent football team here tonight, as we said, operating on all cylinders. This is an Avon Lake team ranked, whatever rankings you want to use, they're in the top, 25 in the area, and they're playing, firing on all cylinders. So you're trying to build, and if you're Avon Lake, just trying to continue to do what you do, get out of here with a victory.
Well, I like to say one of those things, as a math guy, say, hey, if they can score 34 points and a half, we can score 34 points and a half. But I tell you, things would have to change because this Avon Lake defense is really basically showing why everyone's going to be having their eyes focused on Week 10. And probably the biggest struggle for Avon Lake will be making sure you don't look forward to that game. We played that Avon Lake-Avon game so early in the season for many, many years, and now it's pushed back to the end of the season. And if things continue to go according to script, which is easier said than done, of course, of the course of football season, and sometimes you have to deal with injuries and other types of setbacks, and there's certainly no gimmies in the Southwestern Conference, as Avon Lake still has to go and take on North Ridgeville, as well as Olmsted Falls, and not only that, but a very improved Amherst team. So they've taken care of Berea last week and shut down their team. They're only giving up 7 points. It was a great defensive effort last week. This week, probably the defense has stepped up and keeping Midview off the board entirely. And we're going to see if Midview can put a change to that. But right now, getting ready for the second half to start. It's 34-0 Avon Lake over Midview, and we'll have that second half kickoff right after this on the Lorain County Sports Network. Back here live in Grafton, Ohio. We're at Midview High School. This is the Lorain County Sports Network. I'm John Guzik. Mike Rush along with me, helping out in the booth here with not only his great insight, but he has a personal connection to Midview coach Jack Armstrong and keeps all our stats for us here and monitoring some of the other games that are going on around the county, because fortunately for the Avon Lake Shoremen, there are more interesting games around the county because the Shoremen have built up a 34-0 lead, and we've got a really good one going on both of our radio stations, because on WOBL that game was 8-0 with Columbia up on barely on Keystone, but we've seen Columbia be a second half team just like we saw them last week on the Lorain County Sports Network. And then over in North Ridgeville, Avon is up 21-7, and Mike, you said that game is currently at halftime as well?
Correct, yeah, just reached halftime there in North Ridgeville.
So very good chance, the way things are progressing, that this game here is going to end before those. But either way, we invite you to turn into either of our radio stations or in the app or on the websites of the stations, because Dave Rivera and Maria Janasco are going to have the absolute most comprehensive, best, and most thorough post-game show you'll ever find in Lorain County football. And they'll have conversations with players and coaches from around the county, from all the games, not just the scores, but and the stats and details. But like I said, they'll be talking to the players that make everything happen. We got a little delay getting here. Things started in the third quarter because somehow or other, apparently it's not the kicking ball that's out there for Midview. But after going to the trunk and trying to find the right ball, somebody brought the ball down the sideline to the officials. So they're getting ready to tee it up, and Hunter Anderson is going to do the honors out there. But we're still talking.
Yeah, just talking about the post-game show. I really enjoy listening to it on the way home.
I thought you were going to say that's what those three middies are talking about right now. Hey, guys, let's do something to get us on the post-game show here. But either way, that conversation between the three middies and the official is over. We got the ball teed up and quarter three ready to start, with Midview kicking from north to south. And Avon Lake has twin receivers back for this one. Anderson approaches the ball, gives it a squib kick down the right side of the field. It's picked up at about the 27-yard line, and getting some movement there is Bova, and he gets it all the way out to the 40. And that's where Avon Lake will start this first drive of the second half. That took 15 seconds off the clock to get things started. So, but we are going to see, with this 34-point lead, things go very quickly here as the clock is already moving here before the snap, even as Avon Lake comes out. And these games also, Mike, I can tell you, your first year here up in the broadcast booth can be really tough on the statisticians, because we're probably going to see a lot of subs out there in the second half. We do have Alex Affolter out there as the starting quarterback for the Shoremen in the second half. He hands the first playoff of the second half to Anthony Benedict. He takes it over the right side and eaten up there by the Midview defense for no gain.
Yeah, you'll see Avon Lake obviously slow down here in the second half. No hurry. They'll take this play clock down.
They did have one drive in the first half that was over 4 minutes, but some of the others were very quick drives, and had a 3-play drive, a 1-play drive. I mean, they just did everything right that they needed to do in that first half. There's another handoff. This one kind of straight up the middle and keeping the pile moving. Positive gain on that one. Gets it out to the 46-yard line. Going to be a 6-yard gain and bring up a 3rd and 4 for Avon Lake. This is the type of situation, a game where not sure what you do on 4th down, because might want to get some practice in for your punting team, but with the clock running and the way the Avon Lake linemen have owned both sides of the ball here, you may end up going for it. We're already down to 10-18 and moving here in the third quarter. Affolter still in the shotgun. Takes the snap. He is going to throw. Looks right. Nothing there. And then all of a sudden, he just gets jumped on his back. Is Schoenberger, and brings down Affolter. That's the first sack of the day for the Midview defense. Knocks Affolter back to the 42-yard line. So again, a loss of 4 on that one. Going to bring up 4th and 8, and it will bring out the punting crew for Avon Lake. And I believe that's Ian Walsh back there to kick.
Yeah, nice positive result for Midview to get that stop coming out of halftime.
Snap is back. Little pressure, but Solid kick up the middle of the field, and it bounces around and kicked by an Avon Lake defender at about the 20-yard line. So I think they're going to have to bring it back to there, even though it rolled down to the 11. You can't kick the ball forward if you're the punting team, can you? Did that not look like it? Did it not strike his
Yeah,
foot?
I think they
Okay,
threw the marker where the ball's going to be.
I was going to say, now to bring it back. Well,
Yeah.
one official was putting it down where it was. I'm like, that doesn't seem. I don't think that's a rule that I know about. So Midview gets their first drive of the second. That's the first drive of the game where Avon Lake has not put it in the end zone. And we're already down to 9:23 here in the third quarter for Midview to start their first drive. Thing about that first drive, not only stopping them, having the sack on there, but we talked about it's all still the ones in there for Avon Lake. So there was a big stand-up defensive stop by the Midview Middies, and let's see if their offense can keep that momentum going for the Blue here in the second half. Handoff, scooting around, whole clamor of white jerseys all around him, barely gets back to the line of scrimmage. That was Hunter Anderson, the ball carrier. Gets about a yard.
Yeah, they've started the second half in North Ridgeville. Avon's moved ahead 27-7, so starting to get some separation for the Eagles.
I tell you, that Avon team is good, but we're seeing a really, really good team. And when you have defense like the Shoremen have been playing all season, including tonight, that just puts you in every game you're in. Here's a snap. We're going to go with a quick shout out to Anderson. That shot is dropped, and now Avon Lake looking at, could it be a lateral, and the officials are signaling touchdown as the ball is picked up. Again, from this angle, almost impossible. That's Will Sindelar who's going to get credit for the touchdown if the play stands. I don't know if they're going to talk about this from different angles. The referee obviously behind the play that signaled touchdown. You're looking for the line judges to indicate whether or not that was a lateral. And there, Hunter Anderson looked at it as like it was an incomplete pass because he definitely didn't think he was behind the quarterback. From this angle, it was impossible to say. Yeah, with any certainty, at least.
Plenty of lessons for Coach Armstrong here to pass along to his team. Of course, you always want to try to pick that up in case you're not sure.
So we're going to give Sindelar 16 yards, or 14 yards, I'm sorry, on the fumble return for a touchdown. Kick is good and makes the score 41-0 for Avon Lake. So even though they didn't get a touchdown on their first offensive drive, they get a touchdown on Midview's first offensive drive and extends the lead out here even a little bit more as we get into the third quarter. We're down to 7:26. That's mostly because of the running clock. We've only had 5 plays this entire half, and yet we've already taken off 4 minutes and 34 seconds with that running clock, and with a 41-0 lead, it's going to continue to move because now Midview would need to score twice to get that back to a regular clock. But the Middies will get the ball back. This is what we talked about at halftime, is certainly the Middies aren't going to quit, but when you're a football player, when you're a teenager, you look up, you can't help but notice at the scoreboard, that's kind of deflating when you see the other team kind of just walk in a 14-yard fumble return like that, especially when you thought it was an incomplete pass. But back to those lessons where even if you're 100% sure that the way we drew it up was incomplete, you still got to cover up a ball that's bouncing on the ground.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to, look up at the scoreboard. But again, coach and his staff continues to coach the kids up. Can't play the scoreboard. You just have to play the next play and try to find little wins.
Midview will be going to Berea next week for their game. This kickoff comes right to almost to the goal line, and straight up the middle with a great return is West, but there's a flag down back at the 22-yard line. He's into Avon Lake territory all the way down to the 25, but now I think we're going to have a second flag, this time on Avon Lake, for a face mask as he got spun, not only grabbed by the face mask, but spun around. Cam West ultimately ends up with a 77-yard kickoff return. Now the officials have to discuss how they're going to mark these off, because you're going to have a holding call on Midview. The flag moved out to the 25-yard line, so that's a spot foul. But then you have a face mask on the tackle on Avon Lake. Both are live ball fouls, so this is where I leave it up to the officials to figure out how to mark these off. So they're going to call them offsetting, and we're going to re-kick. So after all of that, which would have been maybe even our electric play of the game, especially what Midview needs. We're going to erase it all, except for the time that was elapsed off the clock, and try it all again. But, man, what a great job by Cam West. Just took the ball, went straight up the middle, found some openings, and then created some more space. Imagine if you don't have that holding. I don't know that, it's one of those things that the holding make a difference on the play. I don't know that it did from this angle. But, boy, if you would have got that face mask penalty down there, you'd be starting the drive in the red zone for Midview. And yet, after all is said and done, we're going to line it up, and Ian Walsh is going to kick it again and see if he can put it for the third time in a row at the half-yard line. And this kick looks like it's going into the end zone, so it won't be returnable at all. And Midview, after all the excitement and going back and forth up and down the field, is, guess what, going to start a drive at their own 20-yard line.
Yeah, and we've talked about Avon Lake's impressive night here, but coaches, we like to always find something to, improve, and I know the penalties for Coach Kostelnik will be something that they definitely zero in on at practice this week. Always ways you can improve, and a lot of difficult penalties tonight for them.
This one didn't hurt them too bad because obviously if they don't do the face mask, then Midview would be starting to drive at the 15. Instead, they're starting at the 20 thanks to a really strong leg by Ian Walsh. But earlier in the game, they had some couple of penalties that really changed the entire dimension of the drive. Fortunately, they were able to step up and keep the Middies out of the end zone. But you don't want to do that week to week. Here's Ethan Albert throwing on first down out on the right side. That ball is well over the head of the intended receiver on that one. But the flag comes out because definitely the contact was before the ball got to that area. So intended receiver was cross-worthy on that one. And you're just talking about penalties on just seconds ago, Mike, and there's a penalty you didn't need because clearly ran through the receiver before the ball got out there. But on the other hand, the ball was not catchable.
Yeah, it's a tough one. There's penalties that you can accept, and there's ones that are difficult to take. That's kind of an aggressive penalty. It's hard to, fault, but you have to be smarter as well.
First down for Midview at their own 35-yard line. Ethan Albert in the shotgun. Twin receivers on both sides. Looks, now scrambles off to the left side. More pressure coming. Tries to look one more time before he crosses the line of scrimmage, and then instead of throwing it out of bounds, he goes out of bounds. It's a loss of one. But you hope, as he's a junior out there as well, both junior quarterbacks start for the teams tonight. That's when if you throw it away, you're back to the line of scrimmage instead of the loss. But more importantly, in a close game, you'd stop the clock. Here the clock's already getting down to 5 minutes. Now, in defense of the Avon Lake defender, because if he was watching the ball where it was and he was going towards the ball, he expected the receiver to be farther towards the sideline because the ball was so high. That may have played a part of why the contact got there so early. Trips right for Midview here, 2nd and 11. Albert moving before the ball snapped, but he's moving backwards, so that's legal. Now he's got a nice pass down the middle, and that ball is intercepted at the 35-yard line. Herron is the one who grabbed it in. Deion Jones was the intended receiver. Now we've got flags flying back where the original line of scrimmage. You got multiple flags back there. This is in the area where you might have some type of unsportsmanlike play, but both teams are completely separate. Avon Lake's pretty much already at their sideline. So we got a dead ball foul, personal foul on Midview this time, and a dead ball foul, unsportsmanlike conduct. So there apparently was either some words or maybe even some pushing before they quickly separated to their own sidelines. And again, offsetting penalties, but that's the type of penalty, if you're Avon Lake, you cannot have that happening to you. And if that's a close game, that's the type of game that's the type of penalty that could change things. You got to keep your cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Avon Lake's got big goals just like they do every year, whether it's conference or advancing deep in the playoffs, and those are things that can come back and haunt you.
So ultimately, that would have been a 30-yard pass, 31-yard pass, if complete, but it was intercepted. So Avon Lake will start their second drive of the half at their own 35-yard line. We're already down to 4:41 here in the third quarter. Avon Lake up 41-0 over Midview. And there's just no letting up from this Avon Lake defense, that's for sure.
Yeah, they've got depth. They've got players all over. Those second team guys are chomping at the bit to play as well, and make an impact on the game. And they've got team speed everywhere.
So now we can do our best to keep up on whether or not who we've got out there. I see Owen Falk back there as quarterback now, so it might be the end of the day for Alex Affolter as quarterback for Avon Lake. Takes the snap, hands it off, and then kind of bull forward. And this will be us picking up a lot of different numbers as best we can. So for those of you who maybe are in Avon Lake watching this, know all these players already. That's Alex Kowalski. He's a junior running back who's getting the call on that one. Ball's placed at the... We had a penalty on that one. So ball's placed back at the 30 on another penalty on Avon Lake. Still first down, 1st and 15. I'm searching my roster for numbers, and they're calling off penalties, so I apologize for that. There's Avon Lake kind of running the same way. Heading up the middle. That's Kowalski, and he gets credit for that one. He'll give him 4. Gets it out to the 34-yard line. 3:25 to go in this third quarter. It will go quickly for those who are not used to this. The running clock rule's been in effect for a number of years now, and it really makes these games fly by. 2nd and 11 for Avon Lake. Handoff right side. Kowalski again gets some space around the right tackle, and then as he tries to kind of juke past Passarelli, loses his footing and falls forward. Gets enough for the first down out to the 46. That'll be a gain of 12. So nice third quarter for Alex Kowalski already.
Yeah, another back that's behind some pretty talented players in his own right, but gets a chance to showcase himself here in this third quarter.
Avon Lake huddling up, taking their time, obviously. 1st and 10 from their own 46. 41-0. Avon Lake over Midview in this one. This time Falk in the shotgun, takes the snap. He does a good job of faking like he's keeping it. That's something that, not in a game like today, but something in the future that makes those linebackers hesitate just that little bit, gives your running back that extra half a step to get through, and Kowalski gets another 7 yards off of that one, this time into Midview territory and all the way to the 48-yard line.
Yeah, we talked earlier about Avon, North Ridgeville, and we've talked all night about the SWC, and Coach Armstrong really believes that the SWC is one of the best Division II conferences in the state of Ohio.
There's Avon Lake on 2nd and 4. And whistles blow before the snap is, and that's going to be Midview lined up in the neutral zone. I didn't see anyone move, but they're calling encroachment on Midview, so that's going to be 5 yards and an Avon Lake first down. About time Avon Lake got one of those first downs by penalty, right? They've made it easy for Midview a couple of times getting first downs on there. But that's probably the biggest thing that Avon Lake needs to clean up is penalties, and that hasn't been something that they've had to worry about so far this year. So not sure why it's rearing its ugly head today, but a couple of big face masks. This time, there he goes. Falk is going to keep it, but he gets wrapped up before he can do anything with it. Again, good pursuit on the Midview defense. So that'll be no gain, bring up 2nd and 10. That's Max Cusera again, tracking him down and making the tackle. And here we are, we're on the final minute of the third quarter already, and we're not even close to 9 o'clock yet. 2nd and 10, Avon Lake with the ball. Owen Falk in the shotgun formation, takes the snap, fakes the handoff, keeps himself over the right side. He's got some room, he gets off the outside. He may go all the way, 20, 15, 10. Falk at the 5, and he scores! You think you're going to just lull the defense into sleep. The clock's still running, which it should have stopped on the score, but either way, this one's going to go quickly. But Owen Falk comes in off the bench for Avon Lake on his first drive of the game. The 6', 181-pound junior takes it himself the last 43 yards around the right side and makes it 47-0 Avon Lake.
when things are going your way, they're going your way. Right?
Well, and Fatch brings an element that Affolter, really doesn't bring, and that he can keep it on those, and the defense has to respect him. And you see there they didn't, and he's got the speed to turn the corner.
So here we go, trying to add another point here. This is still Reese Polomsky out there with the extra point, and he puts that one right through the middle. And that makes our score 48-0. We're seeing zeros on the clock on the third quarter. My understanding of the rule is the clock should have stopped at the score, and it didn't. I don't think anyone's going to be complaining about that, but if they change the clock, we'll let you know all about that. But either way, the fourth quarter is coming up from Midview as Avon Lake's up 48-0 on the Lorain County Sports Network. We're back for quarter number 4 of week number 5 here on the Lorain County Sports Network. It's Midview versus Avon Lake, and it's been all the Avon Lake Shoremen all evening long. I mean, man, we were here 2 years ago on WDLW, and everything went right for Midview on a huge upset. Tonight, except for those penalties, everything has gone incredibly well for the Shoremen. And here's yet another kickoff, and this one is coming inside the field, right field at about the 2, and wow, tripped up. A great tackle there on the return. That was Michael Pace tripping up the full speed return man after he'd gotten kind of blocked out of the play. Great job of reaching back, and guess what? Midview is going to start a drive at their own 20-yard line. And we've been talking about that all night long. 11:47 to go in this game. Get some good extra reps in for some of the guys. And Midview still coming out with their number 1s. Albert going to be the quarterback. I see Passarello is out there at running back. Dior Jones on the far left side at wide receiver. Got a lot more season to go here, 5 more weeks, so lots of things to play for in the fourth quarter, especially if you're Midview. This handoff goes around the left side. That's Passarello. That might be his best run from scrimmage of the night, getting out over the 25 to the 27-yard line. Gain of 7 for Passarello. Avon Lake defense out there. We're starting to see Jacob Zick. Tyler Burke is still in there. And as far as the defensive backs, Joseph Heron still in there. And this time Albert throws it out to the right side, complete screen, and diving around and back and forth and trying to get upfield. Going to have enough for a first down for Midview. And that's Camden Scott with the reception. And we'll give him 4 yards in that, but a Midview first down. You see a lot of things you're playing for. You're playing for next week. Maria's already up big on Amherst this week, so you got a lot to play for next week. It's an Amherst team that just beat Midview last week, and that's what Midview has up next on its Southwestern Conference docket. Here's Albert looking right this time. Short out pattern. It's caught. And spinning back inside and getting some more yardage is Dane West. Gets himself a first down. Gets out to the 45-yard line, so it's going to be a gain of 14. Back-to-back first downs on plays for Midview, which we haven't been able to say a lot today.
Yeah, and again, if you're Midview, you're just trying to find something, find a rhythm, put some good things on film that you can build on moving forward. As you said, there is a lot to play for, especially with these expanded playoffs. It gives teams, a lot to play for down the stretch.
Here's Midview back to the line, 1st and 10, 9:44 to go in this game. Albert takes the shotgun, hands it off inside. This is Is that Passarello on that one? Kind of darts his way through forward. Mentioned that Midview has Berea next week. Avon Lake will be going back home to take on Amherst. I'm telling you, obviously we weren't there. We were at our own game, but I saw some pictures, and a photographer did a great job after the Avon Lake game last week. We'll talk about after this play. It's 2nd and 7 for the Middies from their own 48. Albert looking left, has Dior Jones cutting in and gets the ball and gets some space in the middle of the field, gets another first down as he works his way into Avon Lake territory and still spinning even though he's grabbed by the ankle, and gets up to the Avon Lake 41-yard line for a gain of 11. And the third first down on this drive. Get out there, have some fun, get some momentum going. But also, Avon Lake had fireworks from behind the visiting stands last week, which I've never heard of at the high school level. And they shot them off so it looked like now that's a fumble, and that one is still on the ground and nobody's around it, and finally it's covered by a blue jersey. We talked earlier in the game in the third quarter when they had that play running as a screen play out on the right side, ended up as a fumble, which Avon Lake picked up and ran into the end zone. That one was setting up the same way, and clearly we have a much better angle at that play. That play would have been a lateral, that the receiver was definitely behind the quarterback. So that was the same play as it was down there at the 14-yard line. That was exactly the right call by the officials on that touchdown for Avon Lake. Here's pressure, but they're trying to set up a screen. Passarello catches it about the Avon Lake 45, shirks the tackle, gets forward, and then kind of finally pushed out of bounds after he gets close to the first down. And with a little extra contact, I don't know the officials and what's been going on so far are going to let anything go, even the remotest to get any chippier out there. So they're going to throw the flag as that being a late hit. So the ball gets down to the 33 on the play, so that's a gain of 8. And then we're going to add another 15, should be taking it down to the 18-yard line, which will be yet another first down for Midview. And that's their 4th first down of this drive already. Clock is at 7:20 and running here in the 4th quarter. Midview trying to get on the board. There's a lot of guys on that Avon Lake defense saying, hey, let's keep him out of the end zone here. And there's pressure as Albert scoots away, still running for his life now, and then gets pulled down from behind after a short gain. Gets down to the 16-yard line. Called a gain of 2. Got something out of nothing there because he was running from Avon Lake pressure from the moment he tried to set up in the pocket. But going back to finish the story about the fireworks, they shot off fireworks so that would be in the form of a W. But not only that, but the photographer on the home side caught it in perfect spot, and it was just really a very fun, classy way that I've never seen that done before. And Avon Lake got the W, and I asked Coach Kostelnik what they would have shot off for fireworks if Berea would have won that game, and he really didn't have an answer on that. So Albert trying to keep things alive and get Midview on the board, and he's scrambling and gets out of bounds, and this time he's going to get another penalty for a late hit because he did make contact below the knee on the quarterback after he had taken at least a full step out of bounds. So that one, I think you're going to have to call that at any time of the game, especially in this day and age when you're going to try to protect the quarterbacks as much as they can. But being that it's a penalty at the 12, the net is going to be a 6-yard penalty. So gain of 4 on the run by Albert.
Yeah, and Coach Kostelnik's protesting the call, and I understand he's frustrated, but taking a look at it down here, the quarterback clearly was hit out of bounds.
This time Passarello and Albert, not sure who was supposed to get it. Maybe it was a direct snap to Passarello. He did finally corral it, gets it down to the 5. Yeah, you want the coach to always stick up. It wasn't like a crazy pop the guy after he's out of bounds, but you go below the knee on the quarterback more than a step out of bounds. I think you got to err on the side of that's an injury type play if it is any harder contact. Now Midview still trying to get the ball in the end zone. The flag is down as the pass is out on the left side to Dior Jones. Catches it at the 1 and then puts the ball over the end zone for the first Midview score. But let's see, I think this one, is it going to come back or is this on the defense? Nope, it's a sideline warning on Avon Lake. So the score is going to count. We're going to get a 5-yard touchdown pass from Ethan Albert to Dior Jones for the first score of the Midview night. Makes it 48-6. 48 for Avon Lake. 6 now for Middies as Chris Payne lines up for the PAT. Puts it through the end zone. And the Middie horn is blasting as they get him on the board. Makes the score. Avon Lake 48, Midview 7. We've got 4:32 to go in this one, and we'll wrap it all up for you right after we take this break on the Lorain County Sports Network. You know, that Midview horn they blow for every score is a great high school tradition for everyone except the broadcast crew, because when that horn blows into our microphones, it just dominates.
I was coaching here last year. I was a visiting coach, and we lost, and I didn't care for that horn either.
Well, that's a whole nother perspective. Like, I love the tradition. You know, last week at Firelands, they brought out this bell, that the victory bell that I'll be ringing after every score, and that was an Eagle Scout project from a Firelands student. You know, the horn here, great with the Middie mascot and everything like that. Fits the tradition. Even though Avon Lake's a little bit closer to the water than Midview, it still makes sense. And it's loud, though, on our microphones right here. So here's a kickoff for Midview, only their second kickoff of the game. So here's an area where maybe Avon Lake can practice a little bit. And taking it all the way back across the 30-yard line is Alex Kowalski, who's making the most of this running clock situation and getting some touches on the ball. And actually mark it at the 32 is where Avon Lake will start. And we've got 4:20 to go in this one. With a running clock, it is possible here even that Avon Lake could run the clock out. The last drive, of course, was capped by, tremendous run by the backup quarterback. Again, if the backup quarterback can do this, this is just everything's going your way for Avon Lake tonight. And you say Foch, I said Fach. It's F-A-C-H. So, you know, we don't do a lot of we try to get through all the pronunciations with the coaches, but when there's like 90 guys on the list, it's like, who's playing? So I apologize to the family if I'm wrong. And either way, he's handing it off, and Avon Lake's just going to try to run this clock down by literally running out the clock. And that time, ball's handler is going to be, I don't even have a 27 on here. We're missing it. They didn't give us a 20. So let's talk about pronunciations. There's certain guys didn't even make the list. So apologize for that one, but it's a run getting it out to the 37-yard line. So a gain of 5. We're down to 3.5 minutes to go. Score is Avon Lake 48, Midview 7. Hardest job at this time of the game is the receivers, who still got to split out wide and go back and forth to the huddle.
They get blocking practice.
Blocking practice, and it definitely pays well to continue your conditioning at the midpoint of the season. So you're ready for not only the end of the season, but postseason play, because, like you said, the Southwestern Conference is so competitive. The way things are looking at right now, you're probably looking at least 4 teams into the playoffs from the Southwestern Conference. Would you not say? I mean, Avon and Avon Lake, certainly leading the way so far.
And it's so kind of cool the way they're all in Division II, Region 6. It's almost like a mini, SWC tournament every year in the playoffs with the teams that get in.
And that's going to be a big game next week, because if North Ridgeville does end up losing to Avon this week, it's going to be very important for them to bounce back against an Elyria team. 3rd and 5 coming up for Avon Lake, and they're going to quickly, or 3rd and 4, they're going to quickly make it 3rd and 9 as we had some procedure.
Well, that's where you see those wide receivers. Sometimes they get a little jittery in their stance, not used to lining up on Friday night, and one of them jumped.
There's a coaching strategy here that we learned a couple of years ago. I believe we were at Sandusky, and the clock continues running. So having a penalty here or there is not the worst thing at this point in the game.
I don't think the officials mind either, because they're just kind of standing around.
It'll be about time to go home. So 3rd down and about 8 for the Avon Lake Shoremen. Wow, that was a read. He decides to keep it. Last time he took it around the right side for a touchdown. This time he takes it around the left side and gets it into Midview territory across midfield and kind of wrangled out of bounds at about the 45-yard line. It's going to be another 22, 20. We'll bring it back a little bit where they mark it out at the 47. So we'll call that 20 yards for Owen, and he's really building up his stats.
It's interesting because I remember reading in the preseason that there was a bit of a quarterback competition between those two, Affolter and Fatch, and I think you're seeing you can definitely do a lot of great things, with number 15 is in the game as well.
Well, on that last run and his touchdown run, he's already up to 67 yards just between those two, and I think he's kept it another time. So he's putting up some nice stats in just a limited amount of play here. As we're down to the final minute of this one. Avon Lake 1st and 10 inside Midview territory. 48-7 is the score. Letting the play clock go down to 0, and we're not getting a flag. The play clock's at 0 for a while. The play gets off, and we got a run over right tackle. And again, our apologies if we're. Now we got that is on our list. Jack Haley getting the ball handling on that one, and he gets it up to the 43, and that should do it. We're under. We've got about a 4-second difference between the play clock and the game clock, so they may have to run one more. But for all intents and purposes, this one was over pretty early in the first half, as Avon Lake has just dominated from start to finish. And is now up 48-6. Is probably just going to take a knee on this one. They do. That'll run out the last 10 seconds of this one. And I would invite you to stick around because we're going to wrap this one up. We'll have a rundown of the stats, some highlights of the game, and then, of course, we're going to name the Zabo Apparel Player of the Game before we send you over to our radio station coverages of 2 other really exciting games. A great night for high school football. I could say that on any Friday night, but here in Midview is a perfect night, really, pretty much, for the Avon Lake Shoremen as they take their 2nd conference win of the year, this time over Midview with a final score of 48-7. We'll be back with the Achieve Credit Union postgame show right after this on the Lorain County Sports Network. Welcome back to Grafton, Ohio on the Lorain County Sports Network. I'm John Guzik, Mike Rush here, tallying up some stats. We've got some important stuff to share with you before we conclude today's broadcast. And one of those important things I want to make sure we're talking about is October 29th. It's the last Sunday of October, and I want to invite you to be a part of a annual fundraiser for the Jim Popio Foundation. Of course, Jim Allen is Jim Popio, and he's been bringing Lorain County's youth sports to prominence for 54 years. And after he was attacked in his home a few years ago, people got together and said, hey, we really should start doing stuff now to honor all the great work and the great things he's done for the youth of Lorain County for literally now in the 6th decade. Amazing man. Amazing what he's done on influencing Lorain County sports. So we'll do a fundraiser, and it's going to be at the shipyards in Lorain, right along the river. Beautiful venue. And it's going to be a game watching party for those Cleveland Browns, who might actually still be relevant at the end of October the way the first week went. It's a late game that day. They play Seattle, so we'll be starting at 3 o'clock, and you can contact Brian Corey through the Lorain High School Athletic Department, or you can contact pretty much anyone at the station, and we'll be able to get you information on how to get tickets. But reserve the date, please. October 29th at the Shipyards in Lorain, fundraiser for the Jim Popiel Foundation, which continues to benefit Lorain area athletes with monetary. The numbers today were pretty overwhelming. The Avon Lake Shoremen, except for some kind of, I don't want to say silly, unwise, ill-advised penalties, dominated from start to finish in this one as they moved to 2-0 on the conference season, getting ready to play Amherst next week at home and try to continue building to week 10, where we're just going to be looking at that Avon Lake game, and the hardest thing is going to be make sure you don't look past anyone else, because there's no gimmies in the Southwestern Conference. The result tonight looks like one, but knowing what Midview did in the first 4 weeks, it's really that much more impressive of how Avon Lake really put everything together on both sides of the ball and even in special teams tonight to come up with a dominating win. And as we get into the post-game show here, we'll start with the drive of the game. And you know, there's a half a dozen of them you could pick because they scored on so many, but I'm going to pick the first time Avon Lake touched the ball. After a great punt return by Luke Stewie, the Shoremen were starting at the Midview 34 with 8:29 to go in the first quarter, and Alex Affolter just dropped back, put a dime right at the goal line to a streaking Derek McCrum down the middle of the field for the first score of the game, and that really just defined what was going to happen all night long, that Alex Affolter was going to throw a lot of touchdown passes. He was not going to throw incompletions, and Avon Lake was going to run this one from wire to wire again, just like they did last week, although in a much more convincing manner scoreboard-wise here in Grafton. Valley Chevrolet of Wellington brings you the drive of the game. Keep on driving with Valley Chevrolet. One of the things I think, Mike, stuck out is that we have Ernie's Auto Body, where wrecked cars are made new. Said, you know, hey, let's recognize the collision of the game. And although it was an extremely well-played game, and we had a lot of good tackling, did we ever really have that really big hit in this game that we saw?
No, it didn't really. Nothing really came to mind tonight. It was kind of hard to pinpoint that collision of the game.
I think probably the biggest collision of the game, maybe most impactful on the game, was when Midview had third down on their second drive of the game, and Ethan Elbert was tackled going out of bounds and laid on the ground for a couple of minutes before he got up and actually missed the next series at quarterback. He did come in to not only play the game, but punted extremely well. But that was, we recognize as the Ernie's Auto Body collision of the game on that one. So before we wrap things up here, we've got a couple other recognitions we want to do. Remind you that on WOBL and WDLW, got some great games going on. On WDLW is that Avon North Ridgeville game, both teams coming in undefeated. That game's still in the third quarter because of the running clock here, but they're getting close to a running clock there now as Avon has pushed out to a 35-7 lead in the third quarter. And then on WOBL, Columbia and Keystone in the Lorain County League matchup is a fabulous matchup there. And either way, you're going to want to be on either of those stations or on the app, because the postgame show coming up with scores and highlights from all around the county, as well as conversations with the players and coaches live with Dave Rivera. So make sure you listen to that on WOBL or WDLW on the app or on their website. The numbers tonight, not only on the scoreboard, obviously highly favor the Shoremen, but I'm sure on the stats as well, and Mike Rush is going to break down a few of the numbers that stood out from this night's game.
Yeah, a few of the leaders with individual stats. Alex Affolter, we've talked about him. Perfect 9 for 9 passing for 184 yards, 3 touchdowns. Didn't of course have to put the ball up in the air in the second half. Rushing, Nelson 9 carries for 53 yards. Bova 4 carries for 14 yards with the 2 touchdowns. Benedict, 4 carries for 19 yards. We saw backup quarterback Owen Fatch get in there in the second half, 3 carries for 63 yards, including a touchdown. Receiving, McCrum, 4 catches for 80 yards, 2 touchdowns. Stewie, 2 catches for 24. Carter Burke, 2 catches for 73, including the 63-yard touchdown. And his brother also with a catch for 7 yards. For Midview, it was tough. We saw Ethan Albert out there kind of running around, trying to make plays, battling through injury. We did see him connect in the second half on a few throws. He finishes 7 for 13 for 54 yards and a touchdown. We did see Cody Martin as well, 2 for 5 for 36 yards. Dior Jones, 3 catches for 41 yards and a touchdown. And on the ground, Mike Passarello had a hard time. 6 carries, 7 yards. And Ethan Albert, 12 carries for 35 yards.
And remember, this is a Midview offense that put up over 400 yards of offense last week. So I really do believe that sometimes you have games where, hey, this didn't go well or this wasn't our week. It really is more of a testament to how well Avon Lake played, especially when you talk about those numbers like that. I don't think it's any reflection on Midview. I mean, certainly would they want to have more impressive numbers out there? Would they rather have more points on the board? Absolutely. But Avon Lake is just really rolling along on all cylinders. And I'm telling you, we could probably pinpoint 8 or 9 players tonight that could be the player of the game. Just very impactful things. I look at the guys along the front line, tackles for losses. Lewis Gallagher not only played a great game, but he had an interception, which is something you don't hear a lot of from an interior lineman. The fumble return was a great play by Heron, and you can go up and down the list. Carter Sargent played a tremendous game. Michael Thompson had a couple tackles for loss. Tyler Fuente, those guys all up front. But alas, the hardest part of our job is we do have to pick one player to be the Zabo Apparel Player of the Game. And Mike, where do you come down on a game like tonight that gets the recognition?
Well, it's hard to go against a quarterback who's perfect with his completion percentage. So we're going to go with junior quarterback Alex Affolter, the junior, 5'11", 175, 9 for 9, as we said, 184 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's kind of like the point guard of this Avon Lake offense. He's got a lot of good skill around him. He's got to get the ball to a lot of different people, and he did a great job. Not easy to run a no-huddle offense either, with all the signals and all the checks and things that come into play there. And he did a great job tonight, so he is our player of the game.
Yeah, it's not just the 9 for 9, but it was, just different players, different types of passes. That first pass to McCrum down the middle, just the perfect touch. I mean, it literally was exactly where it had to be because it was almost had your own guy, Luke Stewie, was cutting in the other way. And the pass to Burke to get it, get him in stride so he didn't have to let the defender catch up to him. I mean, literally, I hate to say it, but perfect pass. I don't know, but it was just all night long. Everything he did was golden for them. Of course, a lot of it does go to those guys up front that give him the time to throw and make those passes. And we talked about Burke being electric play of the game. The yards after catch on his was just phenomenal. But Alex Affolter really coming into his own. And, one of the other things we try to do on these games is give a little heads up on take a golden helmet watch list, because our WOBL WDLW Sports Department is a sponsor of the Golden Helmet, which is awarded each year. And ironically, our player of the game is not even eligible, the Golden Helmet of the Year award, because he's only a junior and going to be coming back next year. But if you look at this, it's a senior-driven award. Which of these seniors tonight might stand out at you as someone who needs to be on the short list of the Golden Helmet watch?
I think Derek McCrum's impact on the game, both ways, as a linebacker, as a receiver, his value, you can't always, quantify it with stats, although tonight 4 catches for 80 yards, 2 touchdowns. I definitely think he's someone that, could be on that list. He impacts the game in many ways.
Yeah, Wade Nelson is a senior. He definitely had, quality plays out there. Carter Burke, we mentioned about electric play of the game and everything he did. And going back to those 4 guys up front on defense, Sargent, Thompson, Gallagher, and Fuente, all seniors, all guys that well worthy of keeping an eye on as the season progresses here. And appreciate our friends at Nick Abraham, Illyria Ford, for sponsoring our Golden Helmet watch list here. byabraham.com is the place to start there. And as we wrap things up, again, a lot of fun. Mike, glad you're back here on the air with us this week. Appreciate everybody watching on the Lorain County Sports Network. Seems our numbers continue to grow week after week, which makes sense. We're in our inaugural year and making sure we get the word out. And we have different teams each week as we're trying to really cover as much of the county as we possibly can with this, and being complimentary to the games being covered on WOBL and WDLW. So our great thanks to Gary and Renee Tollett, the owners of the radio stations, who took the initiative. It's a financial initiative to say, hey, we're going to now expand and have a YouTube channel and bring games, because I had multiple people ask me, oh, you can watch the game Friday night? Is it free? Yes, it's free, because there's a lot of Boxcast, YouTube-type games out there on Friday nights that you're being charged for. And we're going to continue to do this. The Lorain County Sports Network is a thing. I don't think we've screwed it up too bad halfway through the first season, so they might let us do the second half. And if that's the case, that means we'll be live from Illyria at this time next week at another Southwestern Conference big showdown game. I'm looking forward to that. Seeing Brian Fox over at Illyria with his coaching, and that's a team that, especially as you get into the conference season, they're going to try to continue moving forward and building and growing on their season. Whereas North Ridgeville is going to come off a tough loss, their first loss of the year, it looks like, to Avon. So they're really it's going to be really important for them to bounce back. Huge playoff implications in that one. So we're excited about being in Illyria next week on the Lorain County Sports Network. Thanks to Andrew Bauman, who's our videographer here. Edwin Vereen is producer, director, engineer extraordinaire on all things covered here on site, and everything you guys do for us, and trying to make us sound good. But the guy who does, it's like you're like a harmonizer in a band. You know what I mean? Like you have a lead singer who's got personality, but kind of stumbles over some notes. You come in and bring it together. Thank you for not making me look as bad as I might if I didn't have Mike Rush here alongside us on the Friday night broadcast here. So for everybody as part of that on the WOBL, WDL Sports Department and the Lorain County Sports Network, appreciate you listening in and watching in on our stream tonight, and certainly invite you to be with us every Friday night as we continue through this 2023 season. Final score one more time from Midview. Avon Lake 48, the Midview Middies 7. And everyone have a great night on the Lorain County Sports Network.